Test.
All right, let's kick it off. And maybe let's start by waving. Can you wave to me? Are you here? Are you looking forward? Is this a great moment? Super. Then let's sit down and we'll actually start in time.
I think we can skip even the intros because at lunchtime I will ask them to introduce themselves.
Should we skip it?
Yeah, it'll just take up time and it'll be hard to control. And bringing them to again will be hard, I think.
Hello.
Yeah.
But you decide.
All right. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, dear friends, my name is Christoph Glaser. I am a managing director of the World Forum for Ethics in Business. And it's my great honor and privilege to welcome you all here today in Washington, D.C. to the Global Leadership Forum. And it's absolutely amazing. It's great that you are all here. Incredible. The hall is full, and it's such an auspicious occasion. We meet today at the mark of the 20th anniversary of the World Forum for Ethics in Business. And it all started, yeah, let's clap. It all started 20 years ago, back in 2003, with one vision, with the vision of Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar. And he called for the first conference on culture, corporate culture and spirituality, back then in the Bangalore ashram, in the Art of Living headquarters in India. And in 2005, a delegation from the European Parliament traveled to the conference. I see here Mr. Neeraj Deva, honorable member of European Parliament, and he said, this conference has to come to the heart of Europe. And so in 2006, the first conference happened at the European Parliament, and ever since NERJ, we have annual conferences at the Parliament. In 2010, then the conference started to expand, and we started to have satellite conferences around the world. Till today, we had 35 conferences impacting more than 200,000 participants. So it's really 20 years of commitment to make this world a better place, 20 years of advocacy, but also 20 years of action. And so let us acknowledge the honorable board members in this room who have been carrying this message forward. I would like to call up on Professor Rachita Kulkarni, our president. Dr. Sanjay Pradhan, Member of Parliament, Mr. Neeraj Deva, Member of Parliament from Europe, Mr. Joe Leinen, His Excellency Alojz Peterle, the first Prime Minister of Slovenia, Mr. Madhu Rao, CEO of Shangri-La Hotels, Peter Marty, CEO of Peter Marty Communications from Switzerland, Mr. Ewald Poran from Brussels, Lilian Nowen from Brussels, and Kirstin Ehlers from Berlin. I think it's absolutely incredible that this anniversary coincides with the World Culture Festival. Let me ask, how many of you were present yesterday at the World Culture Festival? Oh, wow. Now let me ask also, how many of you enjoyed it? It was incredible, wasn't it? I mean, what a feast, what a celebration. And if you would like to join tonight, but you have not been able to register, you can do so. That would be absolutely wonderful. There's a registration desk just outside. Now you might be wondering, what is actually the program? Well, you have a QR code at the back of your badge, and you could scan it there. You will find that there's no breaks, but of course, at any point of time, it's a short conference. Please feel free to go out and have a bathroom break. Now, who will take us through this show? Let me introduce Dr. Sanjay Pradhan. Serves currently as the CEO of the 75-country Open Government Partnership. In fact, he just came back from Estonia, where he was giving a keynote speech at the annual conference in front of 1,500 people, amongst them many heads of states. He has been serving 8 years as a vice president of the World Bank, and notably last year in Davos, we actually met, he received the Social Innovators Award at the World Economic Forum. And we will get to know him. He's a great speaker. He speaks regularly at the European Parliament, has been speaking at the British House of Commons, at the BBC, and you can see him as a TED Talk speaker. Fun fact, Bono, the U2 singer, how many of you are fans of Bono? Some of you? Yes? Oh, now you're clapping. Okay, so Bono is apparently a fan of Sanjay. He has mentioned that this is his preferred TED Talk, and he called himself a Sanjay groupie. So I thought if Bono is a Sanjay groupie, we could as well be Sanjay groupies. Would that be fine? And let's give him a big round of applause. Sanjay, the floor is yours.
Many thanks, Christoph. Good morning, everyone. So lovely to see all of you. You're radiating, shining. So lovely. Give yourselves a big round of applause. So I'm delighted and honored to be your companion during the duration of this short journey today. It's really my honor to be your companion today. So let's begin by getting a glimpse of who is in the room. So may I have a show of hands? How many of you are from the business or corporate sector? Can you raise your hand? Wow, look at that. Okay. How many of you are from government, non-profit, or international organizations? And how many of you are happy that you're not part of any of these groups? So while we have multiple stakeholders represented here, a majority, actually it turns out 90% are business leaders. So we are together for a very short period of time. It's just around 3 hours, and a normal business conference duration is 2 hours. So given the shortness of time, we thought we would focus on one overarching, provocative question. You want to hear what that is? Are human values like compassion, caring, camaraderie, are human values like compassion, caring, camaraderie important for business success? Or are these feel-good human values incompatible with business? You see, there is a traditional view, isn't there, that these human values have no place in business, that businesses need a cutthroat, take no prisoners culture to succeed and thrive in a very competitive marketplace. So once again, I will take your vote on one of the 3 I's. Are human values incompatible, irrelevant, or important for business success? How many of you feel that human values like compassion, caring, and camaraderie are incompatible for business? Wow. This is an enlightened audience. How many of you feel they are irrelevant for business? Wow. As Tina Turner would have said, what's love got to do with it? How many of you feel they are important for doing business success? My God. Rajita, we have an audience that is WFEB. Okay, so hold this question and you will evolve your own answer. But in the World Forum for Ethics in Business that Christoph described so eloquently, we have been examining this question over the years with business leaders. And we have together evolved an emerging paradigm that will be the frame, the spine running through our short journey today. So to give you a flavor of this paradigm, let me use an analogy of food. I presume all of you like cake. I absolutely love the white chocolate mousse cake from Tivoli's in Arlington, Virginia. And I have friends in the audience who are probably laughing hysterically right now because for 20 years, every single party in our home culminates in the same white chocolate mousse cake. Now, this cake is so delicious because it has 3 layers of chocolate mousse. So drawing from the same analogy, let me illustrate this emerging business paradigm as a 3-layered cake. Does that sound good? Delicious? Okay. So first, the top layer of the cake. The first top layer of the cake represents the vision and the emerging reality that businesses can sustain economic profitability by also being socially responsible. When I joined WFEB board in 2008, we were witnessing the opposite. Unethical business practices and unbridled greed triggered the subprime mortgage crisis and triggered the global financial crisis. WFEB was anchored in the premise that business and ethics are complementary, not contradictory. For years, WFEB met in the European Parliament to showcase businesses that are delivering sustained value to shareholders and stakeholders alike, to customers, employees, communities, and the environment. So for instance, the company Novartis, which was an earlier WFEB award winner, grew sales by 300% by providing low-cost, affordable medicines to over 80 million low-income households in India, Vietnam, and Kenya. More broadly, 80% of companies with better ESG profiles outperform their peers. So in today's short program, we will have some panels which will examine how businesses can deliver economic and social value in 3 areas. In artificial intelligence, how can we unleash groundbreaking innovations while mitigating unintended social harms? In media, how can media businesses be profitable yet socially responsible in tackling disinformation and negativity bias? In sports, how can the big business, sports business, maintain the ethos and spirit of the game? That is the first layer of the cake. The second layer of the cake goes deeper from social and economic value in the first layer to examine the underlying human value. So from social and economic value to the underlying human value. We will examine how such a socially responsible business paradigm is driven by leadership and corporate culture that is anchored in human values of service, generosity, integrity. How human values of compassion, caring, and camaraderie can increase business profitability. We will examine evidence and examples of how such leadership and corporate culture can create an environment where employees give their best, loyal and grateful employees give their best, where creativity flourishes, where service infuses the organizational DNA, where customers then feel valued and better served. For instance, a major study found that the 100 best companies to work for outperform their peers across success metrics by 100 to 200%. the novelty here is that humane leadership and corporate culture isn't at the expense of profits, rather it drives profits. And the third layer of the cake, remember the cake, we just got to the second layer. The third layer of the cake goes deeper and is the most subtle. We will examine the underlying anchor, the underpinning of such leadership and corporate culture. We will examine how a calm, centered, stress-free mind can be the wellspring, the manifestation of human values of service, caring, camaraderie, which can then unleash stress-free productivity and deliver economic and social value. So in some ways, human values are the mousse that run through our three-layered cake. Give me a moment. So we will be really privileged to have a conversation on human values and organizational success with a most extraordinary leader, Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, who's the very embodiment of human values, isn't he? And for this, you see, he's the founder of WFEB, he's the founder of this historic World Culture Festival that we are enthralled to watch. Now, Gurudev really enjoys engaging with questions. So on this screen will come a number that you can use to text your questions. We will crowdsource it and pose a set of it for Gurudev when he comes. Is that good? All right. Okay, so with this, let us move on to our first panel, which will examine the central question I posed for you. Can human values drive organizational success? And for this, I call on stage a most illustrious panel comprising of leaders from business, nonprofits, and academia to examine, you got it, all three layers of the cake. So I would like to call on stage Raj Punjabi. Raj Punjabi was special advisor to President Biden and also earlier a social entrepreneur and founder and CEO of Last Mile Health. He was named, and get this, follow what I'm about to read out to you. He was named one of Time's most influential people in the world in 2016, Time's 50 most influential people in healthcare in 2018, Fortune's one of world's greatest leaders in 2015 and 2017, recipient of the 2017 TED Prize. Give a big round of applause to Raj. It's my pleasure to invite on stage Emma Seppala, faculty of the Yale School of Management, science director of Stanford's Center for Compassion and Altruism. I love that. Best-selling author of The Happiness Track. Welcome, Emma. Professor Robert Waldinger from Harvard Medical School, director of the most famous 75-year-old longitudinal study, which I simply call the Harvard Happiness Project. He's a TED speaker with one of the 10 most watched TED Talks in history. You should watch it if you haven't yet heard it. And he's a Zen master. Rati Murthy, president and CTO of Expedia Product and Technology, with earlier leadership roles in multiple companies, including Yahoo, eBay, Amex. And congratulations, Rati, recent winner of the Fast Company Innovator of the Year Award. Our moderator is Johan Berlin, senior advisor at Leverage Philanthropy, former C-suite executive, writer, podcaster, featured in TEDx, Forbes, Harvard Business School. Give it up for Johan. Johan, take it away.
First, so nice to be here with you all, and very much looking forward to speaking with our interdisciplinary panel here. And Sanjay, such a provocative question that you asked. Can people in business flourish? Can we uphold compassion, dignity, and also have high-performing teams that excel in what really is the Darwinian business landscape? And so I'm very much looking forward to drawing on all of your insights. And Raj, I wanted to start with you. About 15 years ago, my wife and I first got involved with Art of Living's work in Haiti. We had a 10,000-person Haitian youth corps. And I remember one of the things I would always hear whenever I'd go to get advice at Wharton and other places, they would say, you really need to integrate more business into social ventures. There's so much that social ventures can learn from business. And I look at your organization, Better Mile Health, and the incredible impact that it's had, where frontline workers are literally risking their lives to go and save people, and the mission couldn't be more dire. And starting, if I got this correct, I believe you seeded it with your wedding gift, the product. So we glorify this idea of lean business, but I'm gonna flip the question around, and I'm gonna ask you, what can business learn from social ventures, and what can your very illustrious career teach them in maybe overcoming adaptive challenges, maintaining vision, or taking big risks that can have an impact in people's lives?
Well, thank you. First of all, I'll say that it was great to see so many folks who raised their hands having gone to the cultural festival last night. And I will have a chance to go there tonight with my kids and my wife, who I did get married to and launched Last Mile Health 16 years ago with. And before I was Punjabi MD, I was dancing to Punjabi MC Bhangra dancing. So there may be a surprise performance tonight if you come out. There's a deep, I want to speak about empathy and its role in transforming the world, making change either through social ventures or the business venture. And, since leaving the White House last month, entering this phase of becoming a recovering public servant, I've had a chance to advise companies and investors. And often the question I get asked is, how do I get the service or the product that I've created that I know generates tremendous value for customers or clients? How do I get that to people who aren't being reached currently? The so-called last mile problem. If I'm reaching them, how do I do it more efficiently? And it turns out empathy, I've learned, has a lot to do with answering that question. After our wedding, my wife and I's wedding 16 years ago, or at it, we raised $6,000 to launch a nonprofit organization, a social venture called Last Mile Health, as you pointed out. And the entire focus of Last Mile Health was to flip the medical care model on its head. I'm a physician, as I mentioned earlier, other than being a dancer. And I had grown up in West Africa, in Liberia, came here with my family during the Civil War. We rebuilt our lives. I had a chance to go back to Liberia as a medical student at the time, just before the moment we got married. And what I found was utter destruction. There were 51 doctors left in a country of 4 million people. So for those who may, those numbers are big numbers. To put it in perspective, it'd be like the entire city that we're sitting in now, Washington, D.C., having just about 8 or 10 doctors. So if you got sick in the city where those few doctors remained in Liberia, you may stand a chance. But if you got sick in rural, remote communities where doctors didn't reach, you'd often die from conditions no one should die from in the 21st century. Complications of childbirth, tuberculosis, malaria. And we wanted to bring care to people, not wait for people to come to care. And our answer came from within those communities themselves. There are about the World Health Organization predicts by 2030 there will be an 18 million health worker shortfall in the world. That's in the United States and around the world. And so we asked, what if the community itself could be part of solving that problem? What if folks could become part of the medical care team even if they don't have a medical degree? What if we could hire, train, and equip people who may not have even finished high school to extend the reach of the medical team? And that's exactly what we set out to do. Women like Serena, who had only reached the 10th grade but had a passion to serve her people, were trained in weeks on the 30 most basic medical skills, supervised by a nurse, given a smartphone to help train them and continue to help them do their work, medical products that could fit in your pocket, like a $1 rapid test kit for malaria, which was affecting her community, and medicines in a backpack so she could go door to door to serve her neighbors. That has gone from about 30 workers in one village 16 years ago to thousands of workers serving millions of people across Africa and in many parts of the United States using that same approach. And what I've learned is that this basic notion that we all have as humans to answer the call to serve your neighbor is something that's actually quite universal in our history. And it's something, if we come back to in this moment, in business or in social ventures, some extraordinary things can happen. And we know this because during the Ebola outbreak, history's worst Ebola outbreak, which happened in Liberia, some of you will remember about a decade ago, it was these workers, when there were about 1 million people who would become infected, and most of them were said that they were going to die from this disease, and the disease had already reached the United States and other parts of the world. It was these workers who went door to door to answer the call to serve their neighbor. They learned the symptoms and signs of Ebola. They got people into care and helped bring that virus under control. In fact, hunted it down and stopped it in its tracks. And during the COVID pandemic, when I was serving as President Biden's advisor at the National Security Council on COVID and also on other infectious diseases, I saw that same approach, whether it's in vaccinating people in barbershops in Maryland, taking vaccines to 2 billion vaccinations in India on rickshaws and other ways, bringing care to people was vital to helping stop pandemics, and I think certainly the next one. So what is the practical lesson for business? I think it's this. If we can find a way with our toughest problems to look beyond the walls of our offices, or your home office if you're remote, and go meet people where they are, and invest in the people closest to the problem, that place you're trying to deliver a service more effectively or a product where it hasn't reached. Invest in those people and value not just their expertise as it might be quantified by a professional degree, but value their lived experience and the wisdom that that brings. To have empathy for their lives, I think you can see some amazing things happen. If you're delivering a service practically, that might mean staffing and training people in the local community or the customer, the area you're trying to reach, the neighbors of the customers, to deliver the service. If you're trying to deliver a product, it might mean not just investing in the product, but investing in the people around it to train them to deliver the product more efficiently and create career paths for them. So I think that is the way, to me, empathy can be part of that amazing, delicious cake that my friend Sanjay just spoke about, the mousse, and how we might go about operationalizing it in our ventures.
I love this idea of trusting people closest to the problem, but I also see there's so much inherent dignity by appreciating the tacit knowledge that exists in those communities and really honoring that and allowing them to be part of the solution. So very, very beautiful approach. Emma, I know you're one of the leading voices on this, human-centered leadership, leading with compassion. HBR every month reposts this article that Emma wrote, so it must be very popular. around being more compassionate in business. But I also know that you have to go and speak to very tough boards and in all kinds of corporate cultures from all over the world who may have an aspiration of this, but it may be very challenging. And what do you tell them? How do you sort of make the case for more human-centered leadership, for more compassionate leadership?
Sorry. Well, I always just say look at the data. Because if you look at the data, there's an area of organizational scholarship called positive organizational leadership, and what the results speak for themselves. Leaders who lead with more human values, with more kindness, compassion, humility, forgiveness, they do better, their employees are more loyal, more engaged, there's better customer service, there's a higher bottom line, there's greater shareholder returns. I mean, the list goes on. What's interesting is that a lot of businesses don't know about this data yet. And yet it is the leadership of the future because organizations who lead in this way, who have this kind of culture, do better. And it's also what Gen Z wants. Gen Z doesn't want a toxic corporate culture. They want the human values. They want it in the products they buy, but they also want it in the organizations they work for. But to bring this down to really practical level, I'm going to share how my colleague Kim Cameron sort of dove into this research. He's one of the founding sort of fathers of this field. He was looking at organizations as these sort of large networks of people, and he saw, gosh, within these organizations, there's these subgroups that are super productive. Like, what is going on there? And I remember Kim telling me, you know what, Emma, it's kind of embarrassing as an academic to say this, but all I can say about these subgroups is there's an individual in the middle of it that has this positive energy. And so he went further into researching this, and what did it mean? It was individuals who led with human values, who were kind, compassionate, empathic, all those things. And it led to this massive productivity. So again, let's bring it down to what's really concrete. I want you to think about in your life whether you've had a mentor, either as a child, a young adult, or in your professional life, who was there for you and who saw the best in you and either mentored you or encouraged you or just had your back. I hope you can all think of at least one person in your life who is there for you in that way. Now, if that person right now texted you and said, I have an emergency, can you please call me? Would you drop everything, even this glorious conference, and go out and call them? Yes, right? That is loyalty. Now, I want you to think back. How do organizations usually try to get loyalty? Pay people more money, right? More perks? But that means that the organization next door who pays more can buy their loyalty. That's not loyalty. Do you see that? Loyalty is that human moment with another person, that moment of empathy or inspiration that we just had listening to you, with someone who had your back, who cared for you, and you will forever be loyal to them and inspired by them. And they've enlivened you and they've inspired you. So that's just bringing it down. We've all had that experience, and that's kind of the core of what positive leadership is, in sum.
Wonderful. I could feel the elevation in the room when you asked this question. Think of somebody who's been there for you. And you really can sense that. Just because I know we're a predisposed audience based on the poll that Sanjay took, I'll play a bit of a contrarian. And Rathi, I know you've been a part of a number of very complex turnarounds. Turnarounds are incredibly difficult, as those of you from the business community would know. A lot of time there's finger pointing. Shareholders have sort of lost trust in the company. They can become very toxic. And yet you've managed to lead and excel in those environments and are known as somebody who really cares about their people, but also cares about performance. It gets the job done. How have you balanced that tension?
A lot of coffee, maybe. No, I think, first of all, thank you for sharing such amazing thoughts. It's a good reminder for all of us in the corporate sector. I have been pretty much all my career life leading large-scale transformations, using technology to drive business value. And one thing I remind myself is we're trying, even at Expedia, we're trying to solve a very difficult problem that's never been solved before. So really changing not just Expedia, but changing the travel industry. And when you're trying to do something that's never been done before, it takes a lot of courage, grit, perseverance, and you have to allow forgiveness for yourself and everyone who works with you, because no one knows the path. It's never a clear-cut playbook that you're running by. So it's something you have to allow for yourself to pivot through. And like you said, Raj, it's really getting down and listening to the people, knowing what's working, what's not working, and constantly pivoting to that. That's one. I would also say the second biggest thing for me that's worked when you talk about finger pointing and politics, I think that exists everywhere. When there's more than two people, I think it exists. But the approach I've taken is usually the intent. My intent is to make the company successful, and a large part of making the company successful is making the people successful. It's really not driven, I've never been motivated by titles myself or my going up the career ladder. So that helps a lot in making sure the actions we do or the path we take is very focused on the right thing. It doesn't have to be the easiest thing, but it's the right thing to do for the company and the shareholders, and also allows you the freedom to be transparent about what's working, what's not working. So that usually has allowed me to enroll my partners, in my business partners, in being part of my journey, helping me versus trying to stab me or throw me down. And that's very useful. Try not to be precious about always being perfect. Don't let perfect be the enemy of the good is something I always tell everybody. I think the third piece is all transformation is people, process, technology, I think. And the hardest part of this three is people. And they are the keys to the castle. So bringing people along is a very core part of driving a transformation. I find that whenever you're transforming, you can't be nice all the time. It's not about being nice, it's about being kind. I think leading and driving difficult decisions, you're always either looking for efficiencies, reduction in workforce, or moving everybody's cheese, like completely changing what they're doing, the tools they're working with, the technology they're working with, evolving them to the next up and coming technology, which is not comfortable. You're really taking away what they were used to, what they were confident with, and you're changing everything. But that is usually what's required to drive success. So I always say it takes grit, courage, and kindness, listening to them and taking them there, knowing that this is the right thing to do for not just the company, but for them. If we don't disrupt ourselves, you will be disrupted by someone else. So doing it with that compassion and being there for them is essential. Last thing I will say is we've got to be able to drive all of this, lead by example. You have to be that safety net that enables everyone to be fearless in order to innovate and really take that leap of faith and try something that's never been done before. So being vulnerable sometimes and, saying, look, on a very good day, I'm 60% right. And I consider that an awesome day. So we acknowledging that it's okay to be wrong, it's okay to not get everything right, gives them the freedom also to try things that are big and scary and takes courage and move forward.
Wow. So many beautiful embodied lessons there. I mean, awareness that everything is changing, that it will move through, things move at the speed of trust and belonging. And then that commitment, that intention, and room for imperfection. So yeah, so many beautiful motifs and a remarkable job. Professor Waldinger, I think I shared with you when we were talking earlier that right at my high school, 20-year high school reunion, I posted your talk. So it's a pleasure to be here with you, and the insights from your study are amazing. And so often in business, we're obsessed with the newest shiny trends, right? And but very rarely do we have an opportunity to look at longitudinal data, like the 75-year-old study you've been around what brings meaning and also decline in people's happiness and health. And I sit on the board of one of Gurudev's organizations, TLEX Institute, and one of the studies we often cite is how disengaged employees are at work, in spite of spending tremendous amounts of money on this. And what can your study teach us, or teach the business leaders in the room and the nonprofit leaders in the room, or from the public sector, about what really matters to people at an innate level, at a human level, at an affective level?
Okay. Well, it's such an honor to be here, and so heartening to be with people who want to talk about human values in the world of commerce. I mean, this is amazing. And, you know, and people who talk about cake at 10 o'clock in the morning, that's pretty good too. So let me just say a bit about what this study is that I've been directing now for a couple of decades. It's the longest study of human life that's ever been done. It began in 1938 with 724 people, now 724 families, studied over 85 years, both really poor, underserved, underprivileged families, and privileged Harvard undergraduates, including John F. Kennedy, Ben Bradley. But the studies were about what allows people to thrive as we watch them go through their entire lives. And the most surprising finding that kept emerging was this finding that human connection was essential, not just to keeping us happy. So we found that, yes, the people who had the warmest, happiest relationships stayed happy throughout their lives. But that's not a surprise. What was surprising is that those people lived longer and stayed free of physical disability longer than people who had fewer relationships and less happy relationships. And so for the last 10 years in my laboratory, we've been looking at the mechanisms by which relationships actually get into our bodies and predict, like, why you're less likely to get coronary artery disease or type 2 diabetes or arthritis if you have warmer connections. So then the question is, how does this apply to all of you? Well, certainly in our private lives, it matters. But we find that it matters tremendously in the working world. So, like Emma, I work in data, so I'm going to bring in some data. Many of you know about the Gallup organization that did a survey of 15 million workers around the world at all levels of organizations. And one of their main questions was, do you have a best friend at work? And what that meant was, do you have someone at work to whom you can talk about anything personal in your life? So, 30% of those 15 million workers said they had a friend at work. Now, those 30%, as evaluated by themselves, but also by their supervisors, by their coworkers, they were happier, they were better at customer-facing tasks, they were more productive, and they were less likely to leave the workplace for other jobs. And those 70% who said they did not have a friend at work, 11 out of 12 of those 70% said they were pretty disengaged in their work. They were not engaged. So what we know is that there's tremendous bottom line benefit. You all know this, that's why you're here today. But it's counterintuitive. Many leaders imagine, oh, if people have friends at work, then they're chatting, they're not doing their jobs, right? They're wasting time. It turns out it is just the opposite. and that leaders, at their peril, ignore these facts. Some of you know Arthur Blank, who was the founder of Home Depot. He's the owner of the Atlanta Falcons, has been very invested in value-driven companies. And he asks his employees, he calls them associates, he asks the question, is this company worth your life? And because if you think about it, most of our lives, for many of us, are spent in the working world. And so he asks, is this worth spending your life here? And he argues that we need to make it worth people's lives, to spend their lives with us, right? And I think what we find, first of all, we find in this 85-year study that the people who are the best at this are simply the people who prioritize connections, relationships. And that means taking small steps every day with friends, with coworkers, with family to stay connected. And what we know is that from good research from Harvard Business School, the Sloan School, many other sources of data, that we can create these opportunities for human connection in the workplace. But that, as people have been saying, it can't simply come from the human resources professionals. It has to come from leadership. Leaders have to make it clear that they value this by example, and they need to make it clear that they value bringing the personal into the workplace, allowing themselves to be vulnerable. All of those qualities that, we used to think that the self-made man would never do. And there are always men who talk about being self-made, right? This fiction. But I think what I can say from essentially watching lives play out through entire lifetimes and across generations is that these human values are essential, not just for happiness, not just for physical health, but for having lives that are productive and that we feel have meaning. And they're the only lives we have.
Beautiful, beautiful. We have a couple minutes left. So Emma, I know when we first met, and I know we have a lot of nonprofit government leaders in the room, so I want to weave that way a little bit. We first met when you were doing research around the Art of Living Foundation's work with veterans and helping them use physiological techniques and different interventions that build social connection and belonging, which Professor Waldinger just really highlighted, I think, underlined the importance of that. What have you learned from interventions that go into the workplace, that also go and with the VA or government institutions? What have you seen with different restorative techniques, different belonging techniques that you've seen that works really well?
Well, it's a really interesting question, especially with regards to the whole mental health issues that we are hearing about so much in the workplaces. We know that when people experience stress or negative emotions, they become more self-focused. And you can think about it evolutionarily speaking, it was probably a good idea that if you were in some kind of physical danger, you focus on yourself and save your life. But the problem is that when stress is really high and there's a lot of negative emotion, we tend to feel more self-focused more of the time, and so we connect less. And in so doing, there's all these repercussions. And so, and as you were saying, the leadership has to model the values and exemplify them. And so that is why it's so important, especially for leaders, to learn how to manage their own state of mind, to learn how to be calmer. We know from a neuroscience perspective that when you have a leader, you observe them much more and are much more focused on them than a leader is focused on their employees. If you think about a time when you might have gone in to ask for a raise or ask for money or whatever it was, that when you walk in, you're scrutinizing the person's face, you're very attentive to them. And it might not be the same for people that work for you. But what happens is that And you've probably experienced this, that you walk into one of those meetings, and you've been preparing for it, and you're ready, you're on your game, and you go up to the person, and they're like, oh, hi, and they're listening to you, and they're looking at their phone, and they're looking around the room, and they're not present with you, right? How many people have experienced that? How does it feel, right? They're not present, and that's, I think, one of the main issues is that we're so bombarded with things. Leaders are also so busy in their mind that they forget to be present. And when you're not present, then you lose people. And we also know when you look at the research on charisma that people who are the most charismatic are actually people, they don't have a special gift, they're just really present. They're empathic, they listen, they're with the other person 100%, they support them, they see their best self. So going back to the practices, I mean, the research that we've conducted on sky breath meditation, with veterans with trauma, but also with different leaders, with students, is just that it's a very efficient way to, in a time when things are busy, when things are moving fast, when we need things to work well and efficiently, using a technique like sky breath meditation, which is using your breath, can really help you to come back to that sort of more settled state of mind quickly.
Wonderful. Rathi, with the time we have left, I'd love to talk with you because you're really at the intersection of this, leading big transformation work in complex environments. And I remember whenever we first met, you were working for one of America's stalwart blue chip companies. And this is, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago, and you really took a risk to take a more human-centered approach. Back when you met with board members or EVPs or CEOs, they would sort of roll their eyes at this conversation, like this is, you know, shareholder, Milton Friedman, shareholder value is all that matters was very much the zeitgeist. And I really think of you as an entrepreneur who I admire very much. And so how have you taken those risks? How have you built influence or been able to sort of insert these approaches, even whenever it may seem like a risk at the time and you have so many other priorities?
That was such a good question. I think they answered it so well. So look, yes, I met you when I was working for one of a large financial companies, and the core problem, like I said before, transformation, a big part of transformation is people. And one of the biggest problems the company was facing was lack of trust and way too much stress. And there was a lot of turnover of workforce. Leadership was not really empowering the team. So there was a lot of impact, that the baggage that the teams were carrying. And you cannot transform just with technology. You have to address the core problem. And that's when I reached out to TLEX. And I said, there is a need to help give the teams tools to address the core problem, which is stress, and start feeling better with themselves, to enable them to discover new capabilities and perform better and feel better. I think you said it so well. Everybody asks for, do you have a friend? And when you trust no one, you have no friend, and you have no affinity to either the company or the boss or yourself, actually. And so when we did TLEX, we started with a small group. It was just me having to empower a small budget, start with a small group of people, and thank you for helping me. But it was incredible. In just matter of 6 weeks, the pulse scores, employee pulse scores, went off the charts. So something that was in the 20s, because no one trusted anybody, went to 70s. And it is just an incredible unlock. And that's when I kept going through. And I think that enabled me to have a proof point, which I played through in every company. And I went further, especially post-COVID. What happened is you're not at work, you're hybrid. How do you build that connection? There's a lot of anxiety. There's more anxiety than before. And as a woman leader, I will say we worked for decades to get more women to dream bigger, aspire to take on more leadership roles, and we've made steps towards it. But after COVID, it's actually gone backwards because women are taking a bigger brunt of taking care of the family, working from home, cooking more. There's just a lot more burden on female leaders that they are having to cope with. That's when we rolled out. I was at Yahoo, Verizon Media, and we said we'll roll out to 10,000 employees and start with the C-suite. And Christoph, thank you for helping us. But when you exemplify as a leader, we'll start contentious meetings with a short meditation, and you calm down. It becomes a practice that everybody embodies, and I cannot tell you how that became actually a competitive advantage. Everybody said, I want to work there because they care for us, and not just productivity, they actually care for us. And then productivity goes up too.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, I think one of the common motifs is really this embodied wisdom and leadership that all of you represent, and modeling and taking risks. I see so many other people. Louis, who was C-suite at Amazon, took a big risk, bringing us in. Taking those risks to uplift human dignity. And let's close with one panel, 1 minute reflections from each of the panelists. So maybe we can start with you, Dr. Sepala, and then work our way this way.
Well, I think this is clearly the future when you look at the data. This is how the organizations that are going to survive in the future are going to be leading, with empathy, with compassion, with mindfulness, with caring for one another, because we have the same needs, whether we're in the business or in a work environment, to belong to one another. And I think that's what the theme is of the World Culture Festival. So, yeah, it's an important one.
You know, I think empathy and values-based leadership starts from the top. And so one thing I would encourage, because everyone raised their hands that they love 3-layered cakes and mousse earlier, but raise their hands when Sanjay asked, do you think this is relevant to business, human values, is to go back after this weekend and see if we can challenge ourselves to create more space for that type of conversation in our companies. Because I think some of us can feel doubtful about whether our employees will respond to that. And one way to perhaps do that is to spend more time telling employees that it's okay not to have all the answers, that the employees more than their biggest mistake, that investing in the mission actually requires investing in the people. I think going back with that attitude is one approach. The other I found useful in my own practice as a leader is gratitude, which I actually think has one of the highest underestimated returns on investment, is expressing gratitude in specific ways to our coworkers. So I would leave it there, but I think finding ways to engender humility, it's okay not to have all the answers, and finding ways to express gratitude are perhaps two things I will try to take from this weekend back to my workplace, and I hope others can find their 1 or 2 things to take back.
Well, perhaps the only thing I can add to all this wisdom is that, we're talking about great big ideas, and it can give you the impression that these are Herculean tasks. They are not. So think about small actions that you can take over and over again. So today, if you don't want to send a text or an email right now to one of your colleagues saying, I'd love to have a conversation about a different way of doing things at our company, send it on Monday, right, at 8 a.m. But think about small things you can do, small connections, small conversations that could start things rolling. Don't go away thinking that this has to be an enormous initiative that'll take billions of dollars and 10 years to complete, okay? Try something small today, tomorrow, Monday. Thank you.
I'll also add from the corporate hat, many corporate leaders think that being competitive and progressing or ambitious in your career conflicts with also being a meditator and practicing things that may appear to be slowing you down. These are not conflicting attributes. Actually, one supports the other. So embrace that, and I think you'll go far.
Beautiful. Well, let's give a warm round of applause for all of our panelists. And so nice to be here with all of you today. We hope you enjoy the rest of the festival.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You guys were really awesome. Really, really tremendous. Such rich insights and so uplifting. As Professor Waldinger said, it's so unlike a business conference to have this as a focus. You will each have your takeaways, but I wanted to share with you 3 takeaways just as in terms of the spine that we have running through our journey today. 3 takeaways that I wanted to link it back to our 3-layered cake. So you saw that words like compassion, trust, loyalty, gratitude, all of these beautiful human values defined what each of our panelists said. That was really quite remarkable. And so the first takeaway I have is a strong endorsement of how human values are the drivers of organizational success. That was really quite remarkable, a validation that human values are the mousse that runs through our 3-layered cake. The second takeaway I had is the vital role of leadership to role model, but also to stretch out and reach people and make them feel belonged and cared for. And so the role of leadership in role modeling this and living this through is really important. And the third was the role of mindfulness, meditation, these types of practices, which actually helps leaders emanate and radiate this type of leadership. It helps radiate that kind of corporate culture that we want. So that was very, very helpful. So with this, we will be moving on to our next conversation with an extraordinary leader who's the very embodiment of these human values, Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar. So, Gurudev has been introduced in many ways, at many times, in many forums. But given the topic of our session today, I would like to introduce Gurudev as the leader of an extraordinary social enterprise, which is what we are discussing. A leader of an extraordinary social enterprise using the prism of, guess what, a 3-layered cake. I don't think Gurudev has ever been described as a 3-layered cake, but I will attempt to do so just so that we continue our journey. So on the first layer of the cake, on economic and social value, he began with no money, no possessions, just enormous wisdom and the secret of breath. In 40 years, with no money, no possession, he has transformed the lives of millions of people around the world. He is the founder of the World Forum for Ethics in Business, of this historic World Culture Festival. He has launched multiple highly impactful social enterprises, including the Art of Living Foundation for people from all walks of life, the Transformative Leadership for Excellence program that Rati just spoke about, TLEX, for corporate leaders and their staff, the International Association for Human Values, or IHV, with social projects for communities. As you will see in a video that we will play just now, he has delivered staggering impact across individual, community, and global levels. That takes me to the second layer of the cake, how? To achieve this extraordinary impact, Gurudev has galvanized one of the largest volunteer movements globally. He has made possible what seems impossible, that an organization driven purely by deep human values can inspire and achieve growth, scale, and impact that surpasses commercial giants and big multilaterals. You know, some years ago, when I was at the World Bank president, Jim Wolfenson, met with Gurudev. And Jim Wolfenson said to Gurudev, I'm amazed by your global impact, but I'm amazed even more that you have achieved this through a global army of volunteers. I pay my 20,000 World Bank staff very well, but we still struggle for impact. Gurudev said to Wolfenson, there is a difference between motivation and inspiration. As I think Emma or Rati said, when you pay someone, you motivate them. But when you inspire them to a higher cause, they will go the extra mile and lift us to higher heights. This global army of volunteers is immeasurably inspired by Gurudev's leadership. We talked about leadership. This global army of volunteers is immeasurably, in terms of the second layer of the cake, immeasurably inspired by Gurudev's leadership and his vision of a stress-free, violence-free society. And that takes us to a much deeper third layer of the cake with Gurudev, which is really quite profound. These volunteers are so galvanized because each of their lives, in their own way, has been transformed by meditation and breathing techniques taught and advanced by Gurudev. So it yields this gratitude which galvanizes them, it catapults them in selfless service, dynamic selfless service. So that's the leader you will meet. That's the three-layered cake of Gurudev. But as you watch this video, given that we need to continue our journey and conversation, I would invite you to think about what lessons can we draw from such a successful and impactful enterprise, social enterprise, from such human values-led leadership and organizational culture. And what can we partake and adapt in our own business, in our own enterprise, to improve our impact, our performance? So we will be watching a video. After that, Gurudev will join us. And be sure to be texting your questions. And Rajshri Patel will moderate a conversation. Rajshri is an author, a pioneer, and a senior faculty with the Art of Living Foundation, and an ex-prosecutor with the US Attorney's Office. So let's watch the video.
In the modern age, technology has united us, yet conflict still divide us. And as ancient wisdom was fading into history, a young boy was found in deep meditation in a small village in South India. His name was Ravi Shankar. He would say, I have family everywhere. People are waiting for me. Even at the age of 4, he astonished his teachers by reciting from memory the Bhagavad Gita. With his education in Vedic literature and physics and his profound knowledge of the spiritual world, he became one of the most prominent sages of the modern world. Throughout his life, he has been reviving ancient knowledge and creating tools and techniques that have benefited millions across the globe in living a deeper and a more joyous life. In 1981, Gurudev founded The Art of Living. Nurtured by his care and contribution, The Art of Living has rapidly grown across 180 countries, reaching over 500 million people. One of Gurudev's most unique offerings to the world is Sky Breath Meditation, or Sudarshan Kriya, a powerful breathing technique that facilitates physical, mental, emotional, and social well-being. He has designed 57 courses that empower individuals and cater to the needs of a wide spectrum of society. At a young age, Gurudev started the Art of Living service projects by taking responsibility for reviving a sinking school, which had no funds. Today, his initiative has grown into over 1,000 free schools, which provide education and food to more than 82,000 children in rural and tribal parts of India. From childhood, Gurudev has had faith in the principle of non-violence. In areas of conflict and hatred, he has been an effective voice for peace and reconciliation. In India, thousands of militants and terrorist insurgents have laid down their weapons and chosen meditation and peace. His efforts include helping bring an end to a 52-year-old cycle of violence between the FARC and the Colombian government.
Ojalá podamos los colombianos abrazar pronto el principio gandiano de la no violencia. Coincidimos con el maestro Shankar.
Gurudev has visited Iraq several times and addressed peace conferences to bring hope to the nation and its citizens. He has hosted a series of trust-enhancing interventions in Jammu and Kashmir, providing opportunities for all the stakeholders to voice their opinions in an effort to restore peace in the valley.
We had been taught to operate guns, arms, and train other youths. But now, after doing the Art of Living course and meeting Sri Sri, we realized we had chosen the wrong path. We now want to spread love and non-violence in Kashmir.
Gurudev's programs have impacted people involved in armed conflicts around the world, making him a global ambassador of peace.
We gather today in this wonderful occasion of tolerance, blessed by our Master of Love.
Gurudev strongly believes that behind every culprit, there is a victim crying for help. The Art of Living prison program is helping to rehabilitate prisoners. It has reached out to over 800,000 prisoners globally and has brought immense transformation in their lives.
I used to actually look forward to fights. But now since doing this course, I'm a total different person. I can now walk away from a fight.
The Art of Living's Welcome Home Troops project has transformed lives and brought veterans out of aggression and depression. 94% of these veterans who were suffering from the unseen wounds of war reported peace of mind and reduced stress and anxiety levels. The Art of Living has also been working towards the betterment of the environment. 70 rivers and thousands of water bodies in India have been revived. Gurudev's vast global network of volunteers is well known for mobilizing trauma and disaster relief for people in crisis around the world. In a world torn apart by religious, social, national, and cultural divides, Gurudev's vision is to see the world as one family. The World Culture Festival brought together over 3.75 million people from 155 countries with spectacular performances on a breathtaking 7-acre stage, equivalent to 6 football fields, by 36,602 dancers and musicians from around the globe, celebrating the diversity of all faiths and cultures.
And organizing a meeting no politician on earth could ever dream of.
The Art of Living Foundation For 25 years, it worked on programs promoting peace, combating violence and drug addiction, empowering our youth. It has an incredible, actually incredible following that cuts through all religions, cultures, and backgrounds. A very, very difficult thing to do in today's world.
His vision for the world is to see a smile on every face and create a stress-free and violence-free society.
The voice of peace, the voice of truth should be heard loud and clear.
So as you wait with bated breath, perhaps you can just, Gurudev will be here any minute now. Feel free to talk to your neighbor on any takeaways you had from this video. I posed 2 questions. What lessons do we draw from such an extraordinary social enterprise, from such values-based leadership and corporate culture? And what can you impart or take? I think he'll be coming any minute now, but if you like, you can talk to your neighbor. Let's give a rousing welcome to Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar.
How are you all this morning? Good, great, lovely, lovely. So nice to be with you all. It is said the first sign of intelligence is not to say a word. Now that we lost that sign, The second sign of intelligence is not to say anything unless a question is asked. Usually people give advices and they hang in the space like orphans, nobody to own them. So I don't want to create orphans. So let's begin with some questions if we have. Do you have some questions, right?
We have lots of questions.
Lots of questions.
You have anything else to do today?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So this is from Sanjay. He's been very curious about this particular question. Gurudev, you often say that love moves the world. How does love
No,
move?
wait a minute. Before we go to, you know what impact any answer has on us? Did we think about it? A right answer, you ask a question. Suppose you ask a question to someone. When you get the right answer, what is the impact it has on our mind? Only one. If it's the right answer, what do you say? Yes. You nod, yes. So any question and any right answer creates only one impact. That says yes. And that yes mind is what we were all born with. You know, as I said yesterday, a child starts asking questions when they're 3-year-old. Almost. A little less or more or less the same. And then they take the answer. What do they say? Yes. So the purpose of question is to get an answer, and the purpose of answer is to create a yes mind. And if someone is not in a yes mind, any question, any answer doesn't make any sense. Don't you think so? You know, today there is so much attention deficiency syndrome. Psychologists say if you speak to someone for 10 minutes, people take 3 breaks of cappuccino break outside. But here, coffee comes to your own table. So our mind just goes off. I think we all have experienced this. You are talking to somebody and suddenly you find they are not there. And today this is happening a lot in the schoolrooms, classrooms, and teachers are terribly frustrated because they say something and the kids are not at all attentive. Am I right? So what do we do with this sort of scenario? With so many gadgets and everything, we stop banning the gadgets, say don't use the gadget, but that doesn't work. In the Indian Institute of Science, in 1 month there were many suicides. In India, that's one of the premier institute. It's one of the top institute. To get there is a big achievement, just to get into the institute. So the authorities thought, what do we do? The students are hanging themselves on the ceiling fan. So they said they remove all the fans from the hostel. This is what they did. They took a decision to remove all the fans. I said, this is not going to help. They will find a tree and a rope. Mental health crisis or issue is the biggest issue our society is facing today. I hope you all agree. Yes? Does it say yes in your mind? And we need to address this. And the secret is breath. You know, our breath is linked to our emotion. And if we attend to our breath, our subtle body becomes stronger. We have 3 bodies. The physical body, which are in the waking state of consciousness. The subtle body of emotions and thoughts, which is Well, bigger than our we think mind is inside the body. I tell you, body is inside the mind. One of the proof of this is the phantom limbs. Even though they don't have limbs, they have itching in that space. So if you take the Kirlian photography and you can visibly see your subtle body is much bigger than the gross body. This is the body we experience during dream state. Thoughts and emotion. That's why we experience everything that we experience in the waking state in the dream, and it appears very real. You're drinking coffee, you are watching a movie, you are doing the horse riding, you are going the train. Every experience appears to be very, very real because all the five senses, sensory perceptions we experience during the dream state. But then in the deep sleep, we are in the causal body that is much larger than the subtle body. And the causal body is when we experience, it is full of energy. And that's why when we have a deep sleep, we wake up, we feel very fresh. Suppose in one night you had only dreams, you would have noticed when you wake up, you feel more tired. Hasn't that been our experience? Isn't it? And deep sleep is when there is no thought, no dreams, nothing. Our mind has expanded. The mind expands, it draws energy. It heals itself. It becomes stronger. And then when we wake up, we feel very fresh, refreshed, and alive. Now, meditation is a conscious experience of this causal body, where you are relaxing, it's neither waking, not dreaming, not deep sleep, but deep rest consciously. And that's why in short time, in 15, 20 minutes of meditation, we feel so energized and we feel so alert, so sharp. And this, what we call as attention deficiency syndrome, is just out of the window. You are very attentive. And because it's like putting that erase button in your, and then reset button in ourselves. And this mindfulness or this alertness should be part of the education. I feel so. Because when we do this, we find the kids and college students, number one, their attention span increases, they are sharp, they're able to have a say over their emotions, they're able to get rid of all those negativity when they come to us. I mean, in life it's normal to get upset, to go through all those mood swings, but we must know how to get out of it. Neither in school nor at home we learn how to manage the mind. That is the biggest crisis today in the world. Loneliness. The loneliness and sort of depression, dejection, all these turbulence that one faces, it's like trying to swim without a life jacket or without a coach. And our breath is our best coach, breath and meditation work. And that has been the foundation of Art of Living. The Art of Living is based on only 5 principles. Number 1, knowing in life the opposite values are complementary. So there is ups and downs in all these situations. You have to sail through them. You have to manage your life. This is the first principle. Second is accept people and situation as they are. No point in getting worked up on those events. You can't expect everybody to be like you. So this increases patience in oneself and perseverance in bringing changes if we want to bring a change in the other, in ourselves and in others. The third thing is not to be football of others' opinion. The fourth is not to see intention behind others' mistake. Improve one's communication skill with oneself and others. And then the fifth one, I would say, is to be more present, to be in the present moment, to live in the present, not just hang on to the past and or worry about the future. That constant worry in the future makes us so dull and, not so vibrant, isn't it? What do you say? Yeah. So as business leaders, you all need two things. I know you all know it. Anyway, I want to say it. Though you know it, the first thing is intuitive ability. You know where to invest. Of course, you think about from your intellect, but beyond your intellect, your gut feeling plays a big role. Tim would agree with me on that. Your gut feeling is there, that you go with your gut feeling. So that gut feeling always clicks. If it doesn't click, it was never gut feeling. Intuition is always right. If it's not right, then it was never an intuition. So to develop our intuitive ability, very important. Second, to be innovative. Innovation is inevitable for any progress or success. So these two, in innovative spirit and intuitive ability, comes when we have a lot of energy or deep rest. And that's what meditation does. Gives us the much required rest and uplift our spirit. Now we go to the questions.
So, Gurudev, you have often said, love moves the world. How does love move the corporate bottom line?
Corporate?
How does love move the corporate bottom line, money, profitability?
Unless you have love for money, you will not do business. It's obvious. But if it becomes a little too much, it's called greed. If it is more than, the care for your life, it is going to create problem.
So earlier in our panel, we were discussing empathy. But there's also this conversation that empathy cannot be cultivated. It's either you have it or you don't. What are your thoughts?
Yes and no. Yes. You cannot bring in any emotion from outside. Even if you bring it, it will be just momentary. But you can catch the source of it. Why there is lack of empathy? That indicates the mind is not in its robust health. The mind is not healthy. Mind is full of stress, anxiety, uncertainty, and caught up in its own storm. See, a person who is caught up in his own emotional storm is not sensitive, nor is sensible, he or she. Sensitivity and sensibility both can happen only from a mind which is free from stress, free from heartburn and anxiety and all that stuff. So, in this state, when we can get rid of all this tension in our mind, and there is a way to do that, then empathy is part of you. It's there. It's present within you.
Yes, thank you. How do you identify leaders during recruitment or develop leadership, human value leadership? What would you suggest?
Can you repeat the question?
When we recruit people,
Recruit people.
how do we identify these leaders as human value or human-centric leaders?
You can make God out of a donkey if you have a good training. It all depends on what type of training you give. And so a glass can become a diamond. It depends on the trainer. So just taking only the best people and then growing a company is okay. But taking a mediocre employee and giving them the best training and inspire them to do a work, it's something great. It's something wonderful.
So when we speak about corporate culture, wanting culture to be human-centric, oftentimes culture is something that happens when your leader is not looking. People strategically behave one way in front of a leader and some other way outside. How do you really allow culture of human ethics and values integrate, as Sanjay says, seeps through the entire cake?
You know, we have come a long way from where we were in corporate culture 40 years back or 30 years back. It was a sin to talk about human values, love, empathy, compassion 40 years back. But today, fortunately, we are talking about wellness. Wellness of our employees, wellness, and then the mindfulness, business ethics. All these were absent. Corporate sector was almost like a machine, like a slot machine. Mm-hmm. You go and, press the button and, we were treating our companies like slot machine, what do you call it? Slot machine?
Yes.
Yeah. But today, fortunately, we have inducted a lot of human values. There is a lot of awareness. Companies match grant for their employees when they engage in social work. This was unheard of before. Am I right? What do you say?
Yes.
Talk about love. Oh, love is so far-fetched. Come on, you must be in some theatrical group, not in a business environment. That was the prejudice. But today, we have moved away from prejudice. That prejudice, and we need to do more. Again, just giving a little rice to people is not enough. What is most needed is to take care of their enthusiasm, their mindset. Is there empathy in them? Are they worried about something? If they're worried, how we can help them out? These are the subjective enrichment of resources. This is very much necessary.
Your organizations has achieved global scale with volunteers at its core. What lessons can corporate leaders learn from managing a largely volunteer-driven workplace?
Oh, don't ask me that. It's not easy to manage a volunteer-based organization. No one takes anyone for a leader. Everyone wants to be leader, or they think they are leaders. Madhu Rauji is here. He can tell you, he can vouch for it. He's taking care of our organization. And that's the beauty of it, In NGO, everybody is empowered. A volunteer feels that they can do. They know what to do. What is the best thing to do? And to coordinate them is a challenge. There is no hire and fire here at all. That's not possible. So I usually say, Art of living is not a poultry farm, not even a cow, what do you call that, the dairy farm, cow sheds. It's a zoo. Literally zoo. We have people of all spectrum, all possible human spectrum, from this end to that end. Thanks to our Rob is here. He has had this experience for so many years. He has been managing how to please everybody. Even for this World Culture Festival, it could be a movie by itself. It's the most funniest movie you could ever watch. All that goes on behind the scene. That makes life interesting. In spite of all that, it's the power of our spirit that keeps you smiling, laughing. There is conflicts. Don't think there is no conflict. Any big organization, any big arrangement, that too with a volunteer-based organization, there could be lots of conflict. But none of the conflicts stay. At the end of the day, everybody is laughing, smiling, and hugging each other, and there is a sense of jubilation, celebration.
Yeah. Sorry. So,
in corporate sector, coming to the point, it is necessary that we create a free environment for people to think and honor them, whatever they are. Their ideas are, sometimes they have good ideas, but very impractical, cannot be implemented. And there are people who come with very big ideals, and on the ground they do nothing. So, but you have to have everyone, take everyone together, but you can't cater to everybody's emotions. I tell you, this is almost impossible. It will be too much waste of time if we try to please everybody. But that middle path where you take along and still keep things moving is a skill in itself. And I think yoga brings that skill. Yeah.
If for a moment you were leading a technological company, AI, what would you invent, innovate?
What would I?
Innovate, AI.
I think I'm already in it. I'm doing one. AI for me is absolute intelligence that governs the whole world. We think we are intelligent, that which is basis of all our life is absolutely intelligent, the ultimate intelligence. And we are all part of it. And time and again, from the absolute intelligence, things come through our body, mind as an instrument, and we keep functioning on that. And then we move on.
Some of these you have already answered. Let me see, one more. Just perhaps I can ask you a question. If you were not doing this, what you're doing now, what would you do?
Ask me, am I doing anything now? Before you ask someone how many children you have to ask them, are you married?
Not necessarily.
Oh, sometimes it could be different also. Okay. Shall we have a short meditation?
Please, yes. please.
So let's sit comfortably, easily. We can reduce those big lights maybe, huh? The Let's keep our spine erect and the body relaxed. Let's become aware of the weight of our body, whatever that is, 160 pounds, 130 pounds, 60 kilos or 70 kilos. Just remember the weight of your body. We came into this planet weighing just 5 kilos or 4 kilos, 8 pounds, 7 pounds, something like that. And in another 15, 20 years, 50 years later, this body will go back to the Mother Earth. And this is a fact. Let us honor our own body. Let's keep the weight of our body on the chair we are sitting and take our attention to our feet. Relax your feet and scan through the whole body from the feet to calf muscle. Let's take our attention to our calf muscle, knees and thighs. Abdomen, lower abdomen. The back, relax our back. Our shoulders and arms. Let's relax the whole body. Relax our face. Let's keep a big smile on our face. And notice as we smile, the muscles in our face starts to relax. Let us honor our own body. It's the most precious gift, most valuable asset of ours. The billions and trillions of cells in our body, there is enormous energy. Honor our own body. The body has value because there is breath in it. Let's move to the second dimension, the breath. Let's take our attention to our nostrils and observe the incoming and outgoing breath. Let's make our breath a little longer and deeper. Take a deep breath in, fill our lungs, and breathe out slowly and relax more. Incoming breath energizes the body, and outgoing breath brings relaxation. This phenomena is happening all the time. Breathe in and breathe out. Actually, every cell in our body is breathing. Every cell of our body is connected to the breath. They all are breathing. Let's keep feeling the body and keep breathing in rhythm. Breathe in and breathe out. Incoming breath energizes the body, while outgoing breath brings relaxation. Let us become aware of this phenomenon. Let us become aware of the air all around us. Like fish in the water, we are in air. There is air in and outside the body. Let us honor our own breath. Breathe in with reverence and breathe out with reverence to our own breath. Let us do this for 5 breaths. Welcome the incoming breath as you would do to an honored guest. Hold the breath and see off the outgoing breath as you would do to a dear friend. Breathe in and breathe out. Let's move on to the third dimension, the mind. Our body is like the wick of a candle. The mind is like the glow all around it. Whatever thoughts are coming in the mind, just let them come. Good thoughts, bad thoughts. Embrace them all. Let's take our attention to the top of the head. And become aware of the space above our head, up to the ceiling of this hall. Let us become aware of the walls of this hall. The volume of this hall. Let's become aware of the vast blue sky. And let go of all your efforts. There's nothing to do and nothing to know either right this moment. Just let us repose in ourselves. Let every cell of our body, every nook and corner of our mind blossom and relax. I'll chant Om Shanti. That means peace and love. Relax and let go all your efforts. Oh. relax and let go. And with a big smile, let's take a deep breath in and relax. Let every cell in our body start to smile. Allow the smile to percolate to the back of the head, the shoulders, the thorax region. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. You may slowly and gradually open your eyes. Was it good? You know how long was it? 20 minutes? Did you feel 23 minutes we meditated? How many of you didn't feel the time? 23 minutes almost we did. Okay.
Can you share that secret?
That's what I've been doing all the time.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you going to take more questions?
Okay, one or two questions.
One or two more. How do you form meaningful relationships in a corporate environment which is very transient and very transactional?
When you want to do, you can do it. And if you are too serious about building a relationship, I tell you it doesn't work. People ask me, how do you manage? I say, I don't manage at all, and things work better. So if you want to repair some relationship, that effort becomes so artificial and the other person gets it. It doesn't happen. Just be natural with a sense of belongingness. When you move, everything falls in place.
One more. One of your standout traits is your amazing ability to communicate and translate your vision across all the layers of the organization. What should senior leaders in corporate America consider when they communicate internally or externally?
Say that again.
You have an amazing trait, ability to communicate your vision within the organization and externally outside the organization. How would leaders in corporate America do? What do they need to do to be able to do that?
Clarity in heart, clarity in mind, purity in heart, sincerity in action. That's the formula.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, for Gurudev, Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, please. Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much. Once again, Gurudev, Sri Sri Ravi Shankar.
Wonderful. Great. Wonderful, everyone. If you can please have your seats again. All right. So, my request is people please don't go outside to meet Gurudev. We need to just continue our conversation here. And so we turn to our next panel. Professor Waldinger said that it's very hard to go to a business conference and see the words compassion and love and gratitude and so on. But what are the two letters you definitely hear these days in every business conference? AI, indeed, AI. But of course, Gurudev told us a very different take on AI just now. Absolute intelligence versus artificial intelligence. I don't think I'll ever hear those two words, the two letters in the same way. So we will focus on artificial intelligence, especially generative AI and ChatGPT, like ChatGPT. So we've seen the enormous promise of groundbreaking innovations through AI, but we have also been warned of the considerable risks from AI. So I would like to welcome on stage a panel that will discuss the recommended approach to generative AI in order to maximize human impact while sidestepping the risk mines. So for this, I would like to call on stage a truly fabulous panel with Tim Draper. Tim, where are you? Tim Draper is celebrated venture capitalist whose prominent investments include, are you listening to this? Whose prominent venture capital investments include Tesla, SpaceX, and Twitter. Welcome, Tim. Mike Perlis. Mike, where are you? Just anywhere. Mike Perlis. Ah, there we go. Mike, welcome. Mike is the vice chair and earlier CEO of Forbes Media. Very warm welcome, Mike. Alonzo Barber, director and managing counsel for Microsoft's US Enterprise Commercial Business. Welcome, Alonzo. And our moderator is Deepa Menon, Privacy Cybersecurity Counsel with Eversheds Sutherland. Deepa, over to you. Warm welcome.
Thank you. So yes, we're going to speak about artificial intelligence. And
I'm still waking up from the meditation.
This should go very well, you and me both. So it's amazing to see the three of you here to speak about Gen AI, and because you come at it from very different angles. Tim, you think about investments. I mean, you're known for funding and propelling technology investments, but you have to decide, you have to evaluate before you decide where to park your reputation and your funds. Mike, you've been a frontliner really for adopting new technology at your various initiatives, including at Forbes. And Alonzo, you have the formidable task of representing an organization that is the face of OpenAI, and you have to balance both compliance, and then you also have to balance it with, you don't want to be a blocker on the business front. So what I'm really hoping is to kind of go through these different perspectives and think about the human impact as well. And Tim, if I may start with you. we see markets move at a really rapid pace. It's a very competitive market, and often you do not have enough time to think about long-term impacts and the human impact and the safeguards. Is it really possible then to invest in Gen AI and AI technologies thinking, oh, this is going to have a great impact on the human future? Or is it a matter of we're going to wait and watch and see if it works or it blows the world up?
It's funny, you know, one of the, I built a big firm, and we had 12 partners around the table, and we were all, everybody was very bright, and they told me all the things that could go wrong with an investment. And one of the reasons that I spun out and started to do it again on my own was that they rarely thought about, well, what if it works? You know, there were all these problems with I mean, it's, you know, a guy, a girl, and a dog, and you're getting started, and they all have very intelligent views of what it looks like today. But there is this, what if it works? And so I actually pretty much listen to the entrepreneur, and then I think, what if it works? And now that we've had these huge successes, I think, what if it works way beyond what this person thinks it's going to go to? Because there's no way Elon thought, well, it was actually Martin Eberhard and then Elon, thought that Tesla would become a $1 trillion business all over the world. So the what if it works beyond their imagination is where I kind of go, and is that a world I want to live in? And I think that sort of helps drive me forward. And I think, oh yeah, that'd be really wonderful. And it's very few that become that successful. But I just want to make sure that when they do, it's a world I want to live in. And I think that kind of helps guide us and how we think about each company. And then I'm not caught up in the, you know, what could go wrong, because a lot can go wrong. You know, you're up against Microsoft or whatever, and you're trying to, and you've got, you know, a girl, a guy, and a dog, and you're going up against Microsoft. A lot of things can go wrong between here and there. So I'm just thinking, well, what if it works? And that turns out to really do well. I mean, that system, it eliminates so many bad investments. Anyway, that's my thing.
So what I'm hearing is intuition and personalization. I think you get an A+ in Gurudev's leadership class that he just spoke about. Mike, just kind of turning to you and thinking about technology adoption. When you came to Forbes, you opened up the idea of contributors, bringing in people from outside. And at the time, it was a revolution of sorts. But with Gen AI, you know, there are concerns, like people relying on generative AI writing and the spread of misinformation. Do you think that, kind of thinking about your career with a media house, the democratization of media is going to be stalled because of Gen AI, or it's going to help?
Well, I'll take a note from
Mike.
I'll take a note from Tim and from Gurudev. I want to assume that things are going to work. I think that's the best way to move forward and to motivate people. And if we start thinking of AI as absolute intelligence instead of artificial intelligence, that may help us as well. But change is inevitable, and particularly in the media world, change is inevitable. And without getting too granular, the contributor network that you described for Forbes was designed when print was waning and digital technologies were driving media. And we had to make some decisions about how to survive and how to prosper, how to succeed in that environment. And we made the decision that we would switch out some of our journalistic commitments from full-time employed reporters and journalists to a much bigger group of contributors. 100, let's say, journalists traded for 2,000 contributors who were all very carefully vetted, very carefully interviewed, who were compensated but were not employees, but it represented an extremely different approach to how we would do our reporting and deliver our products. And at the time, and I think this may be what you're driving at, it was seen as, by many, as bold and courageous, and what a great way to go, and by many as riddled with potential problems. How can you control that? Will you be more susceptible to negative articles or poor performance? And we, I think, I know from an efficiency and from an audience development standpoint, we succeeded very formidably. We dramatically increased our traffic. All the research told us that the passion and narrow expertise and dedication that our contributors had was, in a way, superior and drove a new and improved product. But to your point, at the time, it seemed heretical, and it seemed as though it would be fraught with issues. So when we look at the notion of AI and how to incorporate it as a tool, how to try to advantage our ability in this ever-changing landscape by incorporating a new set of tools, trying to offer all of the security and safety, just as we did with this contributor network, at a different and appropriate point in time, makes a lot of sense. We have to change. We have to accept that the world is changing, and I think with that attitude and the notion that it will succeed, how exactly we get there, you don't know, but you have to embark on that journey.
Thank you. So what I'm hearing is tremendous trust in the people who you bring on board. I don't know how you do that without that level of trust.
It's very interesting. It is a people business. It's about ideas and content. So in one way or another, you need to have that trust. And I hearken back to one of the previous panelists who made the distinction between nice and kind. And in this case, kind meant a complete and open and transparent sharing of our strategy. What were we going to do and how were we going to do it? And we shared it with everybody we dealt with internally and everybody we dealt with externally. And it was the right thing to do. It was transparent. It allowed everyone to get on board. Or if they decided they didn't want to be on board, to make a reasoned decision not to. So a kind approach to a completely transparent strategy was really important and will be for any media concern going forward.
Thank you. Alonso, I'm going to press on the question of safeguards. The concern with safeguards is that, especially in the world of Gen AI, which is seeing such fast innovation, too much too soon could stall innovation, and too late could be too little. Where do you see the role of safeguards, kind of in your role as in-house counsel, and is there an optimal time for safeguards to come in product development?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's good to be the big bad wolf in the room, it seems like, but it's, regarding the safeguards and the question of sort of the timing and, when's the right time, frankly, I think the safeguards, the sort of underpinning of the responsibility for particularly the people who make the technology, it should be integrated sort of end to end. And from my perspective, and from from a technology perspective, the end to end means the at point of first inception of an idea that we want to that an engineer sort of has and a moment of inspiration, to the point not just when we sell the product or service or provide it to a user, but that user's responsibility to also deploy and use it safely more to societal norms and what have you. And I think from my perspective, where it starts for me is sort of if always anchoring back to the Microsoft mission, to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. So that, by definition, puts a people-first centric sort of spin on it. Obviously, it's done, for our perspective, being a technology company, is for the use and adoption of technology products and services. So then, if you sort of try to juxtapose sort of the intent of actually allowing people to achieve more and across the globe, you have to build in what I love that we do is sort of principled approaches. So in the context of AI and sort of the building, deployment, and use of AI responsibly, we really sort of anchor on principles. Fairness. I mean, you'll hear a lot of the same sort of principles I'm sort of espousing are what has already been said, and will continue to be said on stage today. So fairness. So is the technology going to allow for equal sort of opportunities for all? Reliability and safety. Will the technology do and be reliable and do what it says it will do? Privacy and security. So it puts the people, a person's sort of inherent sort of privacy or rights to security in first and foremost. You talk about inclusivity. Will the technology be able to be used and deployed with people of all abilities, right? And then to me, the most important ones are transparency. It may not, where are the things that can go wrong, as was talked about later. Just be transparent, because that's how you build trust. It may not achieve every single one of these sort of principles, but at least the principles have been factored in, considered. There's actually a reasonable discussion or debate on those. And the last one is accountability. Be accountable when, in fact, for whatever reason, the technology may or may not sort of achieve its highest sort of intent. The accountability for to accept and try to get it right. I think without those sort of principled guidelines, we're always going to sort of be in this sort of debate of is the technology, is advancement good, or what's the role of government, regulatory? We're always going to be in this sort of circular debate. But if we continue to sort of anchor on the principles, and like I said, the last one, accountability, is going to be key. And so the principles are one thing, but so putting those principles in action is what I think is more important. So as, again, the end-to-end sort of construction or building of these services, each engineer, each sort of business person, marketing person, has to go through that rubric, so to speak, of how are we sort of factoring in those, and maintaining true to our principles, and in fact holding some of our customers accountable. We don't necessarily allow for anybody who wants to sort of, I know it's hard to believe, but anybody who wants to sort of sign up for a generative use case for our OpenAI services or whatever. No, you actually have to go through an accountability. What do you want to use it for? Is this sort of aligned with our values or our intent? And we sort of have that governance built in what we do. So hopefully with all of those safeguards and guardrails in place, that we're making hopefully the too late, too soon sort of debate a little more easier to have.
Thank you. Sanjay, I think this panel's just eating up your entire cake, by the way. I'm going to stay with you for a quick second, Alonso, and kind of go to my next question, which is, you spoke about inclusiveness and fairness. I really want to touch on the equity and access piece. Generative AI, and AI in general, means something very different to those of us in this room than it does to someone, say, in Burundi, where only 10% of the population has access to electricity. Do you see Gen AI as being the great equalizer that benefits all of humanity, or do you see it as being another technology that benefits largely the developed world?
I see it, that generative AI is not going to be the advancement that sort of, closes the technology gap, nor do the other part. What I see generative AI is just another technological advancement, that it doesn't matter how great generative AI is if you don't have the basic fundamental access to the internet, the infrastructure needed to access and use and sort of take advantage of the technology, then it's moot. So I see it like, again, that we are, as we talked about, these are the two letters du jour whenever you sort of, at a conference or a conversation, it's there. But you're right, it means something very different for people who, I just want access to the internet. I just want sort of broadband connectivity. And so what I love about, again, sort of the how do you empower, back to the mission, how do you empower more people on the planet to do more and achieve more? You have to give them access to the infrastructure and the fundamental rights that are needed to take advantage, just like anyone else in this room. So things like, Microsoft has had recent announcements on their Airbound initiative for committing to provide 100 million users in the continent of Africa by 2025 with access to the internet. So without that, you're never going to really see the full potential and what, to the earlier point, of what the technology can actually achieve.
Thank you. So on the equity and access piece, you don't think that that's really going to be the big bridge. It's going to be the underlying infrastructure.
It's got to be the underlying infrastructure. I mean, because without access to all, we can't have the reasonable debates on the fairness, inclusivity, the use. We can't have, because so many people are excluded from the conversation. So how can we truly sort of, have a truly balanced, reasonable sort of analysis on it? This is how I look at it.
Thank you. So kind of riding on that, going back to you, Tim, about the inequitable distribution of how this might work out. Let's think a little bit about the labor market. Every time we've had an industrial revolution, a digital revolution, we see an occupational shift. And I was reading this Tokyo Foundation report that said that as a result of Gen AI, we're going to see, just in the United States, a shift of about it's going to be 12 million people who are going to experience an occupational shift by 2030, just in the United States. And 10 million of that number represents low-wage earners. So the question is, what can businesses learn from the past and the past revolutions to kind of prepare for this scale of a labor shift? Because one thing that's different about other revolutions and Gen AI is the sheer pace at which the market is changing.
So I look at it a little differently. I believe very much in trust and freedom. My business, I hand money out for a living. In doing so, I've made 2,500 investments, and only in two situations did I have a trust issue where people ran off with the money and did whatever they did. 2 out of 2,500. But our economy, the global economy, spends about 60% of their money on trying to make everybody safe from that. And I sort of think, God, but freedom really works. You look at, we have a perfect experiment on freedom. That is Korea. There was a demilitarized zone drawn between North and South Korea. There were about 30 million people on each side. The North took on Marxist, Leninist philosophies. They took on this, we know better than you do. We'll tell you what to do. You just do it and everything will be fine. And the South took on this freedom. We don't know what's going to happen. We're going to let it rip. It's free speech here. You can say whatever you want. No thought police. There's this, go ahead. We're a democracy. You guys can say whatever you want. You can vote any way you want. We're a free market. You can buy and sell and trade any way you want. Well, it's a 70-year experiment. It's about 4 generations. The average South Korean now makes 460 times what the average North Korean makes. And the average South Korean is now 4 inches taller than the average North Korean. The average South Korean woman is taller than the average North Korean man. This world has, that is a perfect experiment. And freedom and trust just work. So I ran this by Gurudev. And we had a great conversation about it. And he said, yes, trust, freedom. He says, you can't have freedom without trust. You can't have trust without freedom. And I think, I mean, if he can spread that word the way he spreads a good word throughout the world, we will have a trusting, trusted, trustworthy world, and we'll be free, and we will live better. Everybody will have a better life. Now, there's one other thing I want to hit on, and that is fear of the unknown is a big deal. And I know in media, a lot of the advertising is sold based on fear. Really, I mean, hey, we're all afraid, what's going to happen, what's going to happen. But now I'm old enough to have seen many of these cycles where everybody got afraid of the internet. At the beginning, they all got excited, but then they said, oh my God, I'm not putting my credit card on Amazon. I'm afraid of a computer virus coming and, snagging all my data. I'm afraid of this, I'm afraid of that. And then all of a sudden, without any of us really noticing, the internet was a major part of our lives and completely changed the way we live. And there's no way any of us would want to go back 50 years and live before having Uber and DoorDash and whatever else great things are on. The world keeps getting better. It keeps getting better because humans are innovative. They create cool things. They innovate, and the cool things, the best things, spread throughout the world. And when they spread throughout the world, we're all better off. So same thing happened with, will eventually happen with Bitcoin and the blockchain and smart contracts. And with AI, it's going to be even better. We're going to have an anthropological surge that is bigger than the printing press. By the way, ChatGPT 3 is more fun than ChatGPT 4 because ChatGPT 4 has all these rules on it. And ChatGPT 3 is wide open spaces. Just so you guys know, go ahead, try the 2, and you'll learn so much more from ChatGPT 3. So hopefully ChatGPT 6 ends up being a little bit more free speech and a little less more cover our butts.
Noted.
Alonso, you have consumer feedback.
Noted.
My kind of turning back to you on this, thank you, Tim. Kind of just, I love that you're so optimistic about this, Tim, and you're talking about the no fear, but then I'd be out of a job if you didn't have fear as the lawyer, so. Mike, kind of turning to this.
There are other jobs, and since AI is going to be taking all of our jobs, innovate, create something else that's made. You could do the law through AI.
You just got to figure out how to get AI to give away money now, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes, so as you know, Tim just offered me money to go do whatever I want to do, so it's on record. Mike, kind of speaking about media, because Tim touched on this, and the fear in the media. The one thing that we've heard is that ChatGPT or other search engines, Gen AI-powered search engines, could potentially reduce traffic to media sites. And when that happens, media sites may have to overcompensate by through sensational stories to attract consumers. And sensational stories are not usually objective and are not thinking really about human impact. How do you, yeah.
Well, it's a good question. And I do think that it's important that, and everything you said, Tim, rings true, especially for the optimist in me. We have to be optimistic, we have to think positively and move forward with that understanding. We're all aware of the hyperbole that's out there. I'm just reading the Walter Isaacson book on Elon Musk, and there's the famous showdown between Elon Musk, who wants to fight AI because it's going to rob us of our human consciousness, and we won't be able to take that consciousness to Mars. and Larry Page, who wants to take an evolutionary approach to, well, let's just let it go. Let's see what happens. Let's see. It may be an existential issue, maybe not. So leaving those big, dramatic, but real and scary elements aside, specifically in media, you know, and I won't belabor this, but you know, if you go all the way back to movies were going to replace theater. You know, radio was going to replace movies. TV was going to replace radio. Cable was going to replace TV, cable, all the way down the line. The internet, as you described, was going to be, you know, dark and evil, and it's become something very different. I'm confident that the media community, working with responsibility and with a certain amount of trust, but verification around the kinds of tools that are available and putting them to use in the right collaborative ways, can move to the next level of what media really means and what it's evolving to. It's innately human, and the intelligence involved in it is human and can be aided, as it has been over and over again, by the technology that's on hand.
Thank you. So as a final question for this panel, we're just going to do, if you could think of one word to describe the impact, what do you think would be the impact of Gen AI on the future of humanity? What would it be, Tim?
Better.
Mike.
It's hard to beat better. I think it will be a tool, a most valuable and precious tool that can be added to the arsenal that we use. Tool.
Thank you.
I would say ubiquity. So there's going to be sort of ever and be an experience that you're going to sort of just be inherent and everywhere. So ubiquity.
Thank you. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Thank you so much, Alonzo. Thank you so much, Tim. Thank you so much, Mike. Thank you so much, Deepa. That was awesome. That was awesome. I take away the better part. The fact that it's going to be better. That's great. I can tell you, I was asking Gurudev, he also had exactly the same sense. It'll be better. So, how many of you are sports fans? Can you raise your hands? How many of you are sports fans? Fantastic. Most of the people in the room are sports fans. So, sports gives us a great deal of joy, but is also very big business. We are here as business leaders. Sports is also very big business. Revenue from sports business is expected to surpass $700 billion by 2027. That's very, very big business. But we also know that ethical lapses in sports rob us, sports fans, all of you, of joy. I'm a cricket fanatic. I'm an absolute cricket fanatic. And I was robbed. I felt so robbed of joy years ago when I learned that the games I used to really enjoy actually had betting in it. And so the results were predetermined. So whether it is betting or doping or award of FIFA contracts which are marred by corruption, ethical lapses in sports rob sports fans of the joy and tarnish the ethos and spirit of the game. Sports business should not only deliver economic value, but it should also deliver social value in what us sports fans get out of it. That's the first layer of the cake. So I'm delighted to welcome on stage, and I'd invite you to come on as I call your name, a star-studded, fabulous panel of celebrated sports personalities. I welcome on stage Christoph Daum. Christoph where are you? Welcome, Christoph. Christoph is a luminary and star in the realm of German soccer coaching, winning national titles and guiding his team into the European Champions League final, a historic feat for the club. Inge Anderson. Inge, where are you? Inge Anderson? Ah, there you are. Inge Anderson served as the head of the Olympic Committee in Norway, leaving an enduring legacy, particularly on ethics and fair play in sports. Under his leadership, Norway won 32 Olympic medals. That's quite impressive. Rachel Joy Barbo is a former national sportscaster and the first female host of SiriusXM, college channels, best-selling author, and founder of hashtag I'm Changing the Narrative. And of course, you have already met Christoph Glaser, who opened us this morning. He's the managing director of the World Forum for Ethics in Business. But for me, his defining characteristic is ethics in sports runs in his very, very soul. That's the mousse that runs into his cake. Come, welcome on stage.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sanjay. And it's great to be on this panel. I wanted to check in with all of you. How many of you do some sports? Some? Oh, wow, look at this. How many of you feel it would be good if I do a little bit more? Okay, then this is well invested time because we have some incredibly inspiring sports stars with us. And indeed, Sanjay, sports has become a big business, no doubt. In the same time, sports is so beautiful, right? It makes us enjoy life, our bodies, and it is healthy. So I want to start with you, Inge. I come from Switzerland, and that's a country which produced one Roger Federer in 700 years. He comes from Norway, and Norway has produced more than 400 gold medals in whatever 100 years. So, Inge, what's the secret of success? What are we doing wrong in Switzerland?
I don't think you are doing anything wrong in Switzerland because I have also been there.
That's right.
I was also national coach in Switzerland for some years. If you want to be the best in the world, then you have to train best in the world. That is not only in sport, that is in every business in life. That is, someone believe that is a secret. It can be difficult, but it is also easy. But of course, also, to be best in the world, you need the best people around you. You need the best competence, the best knowledge, and also individual sport is also team sports. And I think many coaches and leaders forget that you have to work together if you want to be the best.
Now, there's so many facets to ethics. One aspect could maybe be that we do the right thing even if nobody watches. I think in soccer it has become a fashion that it's okay to cheat even if everybody is watching. Right? Winning is the bottom line. And then, Inge, you come from a nation which has built sports in all the curriculums. I think 50% of the kids in Norway are actually part of a sports club. Erik Solheim will confirm that. Actually, I remember when I met Erik for the first time, I had to wait. Erik Solheim has been a minister in Norway. I had to wait for him with Ewald. And the secretary told me, Erik is coming very soon. He's just having a soccer match with his other peer ministers. So that's the culture of Norway. How are you in this country able to instill these values like integrity in the youth?
I think in Norway, we have something that are quite unique. We have the children's right in sport. In Norway, we are only 5.3 million people, but we are a superpower nation, We are also know, as we are a winter sport nation in principle, but the last years in football, in track and field, in triathlon, in beach volleyball, we have the world's best athletes. And I think the most important is that all of those are coming from the same organization, a voluntary-based organization where more or less half of the population in Norway is a member in the Norwegian Olympic Committee and Confederation of Sport. And it should be a place for everyone. When a country like Norway are competing against USA, China, Australia, Germany, France, with the population they have, then we can't lose any children on the way to the top. We need all the runners, all the skiers, all the football players that are coming into our organization. We can't lose them. And then we have to treat the children and the young people in a holistic way. So I think that is, and this has been a tradition in Norway for a long, long time. This right for children in sport was developed in the 1980s. And still, we are the only country in the world that have this children's rights in sport. And we were also the first nation in the world that totally integrated the Paralympic athletes in our organization. They are a part, they are totally... So our Paralympic athletes, they are a part of the totally sports system in Norway, in the clubs, from the clubs and up to the elite top sports center.
That's very impressive. Thanks, Inge. And I don't know how it was for you. For me, it was really great to have Gurudev with us. And it was such a relief for me to hear him speaking, because suddenly, for the first time, I understood why I did not become a great soccer player. Because he said, you need a great coach, and if you have that, you can even make a god out of a donkey. And I've then realized if Christoph Daum would have been my coach, I could have kicked it like Beckham. And Christoph, I mean, we are in the United States of America. In Germany, Christoph is a real hero. He has won multiple championships with his clubs. There was a time we all believe that if Christoph says, now we will walk over water, we can actually do it. He has been named as a...
If it is frozen.
He had been named as national coach in Germany for a short period of time, which in Germany really is a position as important as the chancellor when it comes to media attention. And he has also had major setbacks, right? The media has been after you, you had fallen, but you always stood up. What, Christoph, would you say was your biggest triumph? And what was your most important defeat, maybe?
First of all, thank you very much for this invitation. And I can only say, you have to stand one time more up than you fall down. If you are in sports, then to lose, to have a defeat is normal. Yeah, it's you will not win always. And what does the defeat tells you? What can you learn out of it? What is the story to become better? And that is always what I ask myself, and not that I was blaming somebody else for the result, that it was a referee or it was the weather or whatever, the temperature. We know a lot of excuses, but this was never valid for me. I was always looking at myself, how I can become better. I took the responsibility for the result first, and then I spoke with a team. What does this result tells us? Yes, and I listened to the players, what they took out of it. But okay, we started this feedback, because I say feedback is a breakfast for the champions. You must give feedback. It starts after 24 hours. The first 24 hours, give everybody the time to feel the pain. Yeah, it's very important to have this feeling of the pain, to go through these difficulties, because that makes you strong. Yeah, and that I did always with my teams, and then working on solutions, but not only on solutions that are coming out of my mind, my mouth, listening to the others. Involve them and listen to them, because quite often we are speaking about we have to speak the language of our players. We have to speak the language of the society or whatever. But then think about it. First, you have to listen.
Amen.
Yeah, how can you speak the language of your employees, of your players, if you don't listen? If I first speak, mostly my players will follow me. But not because they are convinced, maybe because they think, okay, I don't want to say something wrong. They will just may say what they think, what I want to hear. So I don't speak first. First I listen. And then out of all these answers, we create a better team, a better teamwork, a better team spirit. And that's it, what even I learned here from Art of Living, to listen, or how important, what I learned here is how important is meditation and breathing for recovery.
Yes.
Unbelievable. I didn't know it before. 50 years ago when we came together, okay, we know a little bit about sauna and warm water and some things, but meditation in professional football was forbidden. Oh, that was for the soft boys.
Yep.
Yeah, that was,
Yep.
but not for the professionals. But then step by step, we influenced the people. Nowadays, we're having in every professional team a mental coach. We have coaches who really know how to handle yoga or to relaxation things. Even that's our next step, to bring in all the breathing techniques, which are very helpful. So, coming back to the question, it's very important that you, as a leader, are listening to your players and to experts, because I'm not, I do not know everything. I'm not, okay, I'm the leader. I'm giving an example, but sometimes the best example is to shut up and to listen.
Yes, yes. Woo!
Feedback as a breakfast for leaders. I think that's so powerful, and we look forward to your feedback on this conference. Are you enjoying it?
Yes.
I don't hear anything. Are you enjoying the conference?
Woo-woo!
Now,
Christoph, just a question to you or to everybody here. Please explain me who is a real champion.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I give it to Christoph. Yeah,
who is a real champion? You are a real champion.
Okay. A real champion is not a champion because he has won trophies and titles. He's a real champion because of his attitude and behavior. That's it.
Amen. And if I may, you just dropped some knowledge on pain. I want to say this very briefly on pain. So many of us are afraid of our pain. We're afraid to sit with our pain. But let me tell you a truth. Sometimes your pain is attached to your greatest purpose. What bothers you is something that you can do in the world, somebody you can affect, somebody you can touch. Guru Dev talked about I'm waiting to meet my family, right? I'm waiting to meet these people. They need me. They're all my family. And so when you said that about sitting with the pain in a loss for 24 hours, if we will get curious about our pain, if we will get curious about the symptoms, maybe that's anger, maybe it comes out in a different way, and we get curious about it and we figure out what the root of our pain is, we can use that to connect with other human beings.
Thanks a lot, Rachel. And let me dive a little deeper into that. I know that you have done great work to help athletes with their well-being. You have a center for that.
Yes.
How do you do that?
Yeah, so I was a sportscaster for 17 years. For all of my queens in the room, I was the first female host, as he mentioned, on Sirius XM for my big girls and little girls. Yes, break some ceilings. Yes, and then about 7 years ago, I noticed a problem in athletics. And it was that people were taking the headlines for negative things. We were not focused on purpose outside of athletics. Listen to me, for my athletes in the room and for my coaches, you were not born to just be an athlete. You were not born just to be a business leader. You were born for more. You were born to leave a legacy. I call people kings, queens, royalty, because I believe that there is greatness inside of you. I believe that you were born to touch people and leave a legacy. And so I created this simple, what I call curriculum. And I just want to say this to anybody who's got an idea in the room. Don't poo-poo your ideas because they're tiny. I called it a curriculum 7 years ago. Truth be told, it was a 2-page Google Doc. Okay, it wasn't a curriculum yet. It was a small idea that turned into something beautiful. And I began to speak to college athletes. It's now spread out to more, to professional athletes as well, into corporations and schools and prisons. But I spoke to them on purpose, passion, platform, my own experience with domestic violence. And now 7 years later, we've expanded that into joy, purpose beyond your job or athletics, good love for yourself and others, mental health. And we visited over 70 colleges in 7 years. Like I mentioned, schools, prisons, corporations, high schools. I'm just so blessed to be able to do that. And I get to teach people what I think is the essence of sports and teamwork. And that is connection, and that is joy. Y'all, if the pandemic taught us anything, it taught us that we need each other. We need each other. Yes, I heard a clap in the back. Yes, we need each other. So in sports and in life, if we can get back to why we started, which is connection with another human being and the joy of competing, the joy of doing your job, the joy of the reason why you started your corporation or your business, that's where the true peace is. That's where the true connection is with another human being and finding that joy. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Rachel, and I can feel your passion, your joy. Time is not our friend this morning. We want to close soon. I have one closing question for all of you. And actually, I changed it a little bit under the impression of this discussion. There's so much to learn from sports. I think all of us in this room, we had situations where we have fallen down, where life didn't go the way we wanted. And I've always learned from my dad is that that's okay, but we need to get up again.
Yes.
And I would like to ask each and every one of you, what is your recipe? How do you get back on your feet when you fall down?
Because I have learned the most about myself when I've been face down in the mud. I did not learn about myself and the depth of my humanity and the depth of my soul when I was high on the mountaintop and on the sideline on television winning the awards and doing the things. I learned the most about myself when I was face down in the mud. And let me ask you a very important question. Everybody in here, and I see people taking notes all over. Keep taking notes. As a reporter for 17 years, we think we're going to remember something, and then we get a little bit down the road and we forget our joy. We forget the lesson. So I want to ask you this question. It is this. Has your pain, has your trials made you bitter or better? Because there was a time in my life where my trials made me bitter. I was jealous of people, jealous their mom survived cancer, jealous they got this thing. And then now I look at them and I say, I cheer for them. I pray for them. I clap for them. I have joy for them. I teach on something called being a joy starter. A joy starter is somebody who notices joy, spreads joy, and is joy.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, Rachel. Inga, I know you have fallen down, you had a severe injury, but in life in general, how do you stand up?
I think the most important is for all of us to think about that the people you meet on the way up, you will also meet them on the way down. And so if you as a leader or as a normal man or woman take care of the people that we are meeting on our way, then we also will have them when we need help. And the social power is greatly underestimated by many managers. So the social power we need to take care of, and we need it in all situations.
Yes.
Thanks a lot, Inge.
Yeah, and of course you need to then treat people with respect, with dialogue, with sensitivity, and with a smile. And we have seen one of the world's biggest leaders. Therefore, we are all here today with Sri Sri Ravi Shankar and some of the leaders that are living forever. For example, also Nelson Mandela. That is the way they are treating people. We will never forget them, what they have done for the world.
Thanks, Inge. Big round of applause. And I want to say that in form of a compliment, Inge, I know you since 10 years. I know you since 10 years, Inge, and that's exactly how you have treated me, with so much respect. Thanks a lot for that. And Christoph, I mean, I'm so happy to meet you here again, and you have such an incredible energy. What people might not anticipate is that you have gone through a severe disease. You don't need to speak about that, but it's just incredible that you have this strength within yourself. How do you gain that in your darkest moments?
Look, if I'm here with all these peoples, I get such a reload of smiling, that's enough for 1 year. Yes? So it's always a pleasure, honor to be with you. Sometimes you are like Gurudev, you always have such a positive image and an impact on me that even if we are speaking by telephone, even it's raining, then suddenly it's sunshine, if we are speaking. Yeah, you have something, and that is valid for the whole organization, for Rashida and all the other people who are here involved. And it makes me happy to be a small part of this group. Yes, but that was not the answer of your question, but I have to tell it. I had when I was a young kid, and we lost a very important, from my point of view, match. I came home, I was crying, and then my grandma was there, and she took me in her arm. And with the love of my grandma, suddenly all these things disappeared. Yes, all this crying stopped. I felt a power of love, and even I have it today when I'm after I lost more finals than I won finals. Yes, only maybe 7 cups and championships I won, but I have become 12 times second. Yeah, but that belongs to my business and to sports. And what my grandma did for me, that is now my family, my wife, my kids. They are telling me, look, to lose and failure, that's something which belongs to life. Don't take it too serious. Okay, it sounds simple. If you are losing a final, it's hard to go through it. We discussed it before. But I have learned out of it, and that I'm here is maybe also because I learned a lot of things which are more important than to win a cup or a title.
Yes.
Thanks a lot. Well, Rachel, Inge, Christoph, thanks a lot. I think this was truly inspiring. Are we all ready to take up sports right away tomorrow?
Yeah.
Let's give them a big round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
So we want a picture.
Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Christoph. Thank you very much, Rachel. Thank you, Inge. Thank you, Christoph. That was wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So this actually concludes the three panels we had. Before going to the final awards ceremony, and lunch is coming, I wanted to close out this part of the program. So I wanted to suggest to you that I hope that the speakers, the evidence, the examples you have heard will inspire you to join us in WFEB in a shared journey that is as steeped in human values as it is profitable. Yes? And in this journey that you undertake with us, I wanted to suggest that there are a few key programs of Gurudev's organizations, non-profit organizations, that can be powerful partners for you in this journey. And so in closing, I would like to make 3 suggestions for your consideration, corresponding to, guess what? The 3 layers of the cake. So, on the first layer of the cake, to advance social value through your business, we have a majority of business leaders in this room, yes? To advance social value through your business, one instrument that all business leaders in this room have is corporate social responsibility, yes? And to get huge social bang for the buck from corporate social responsibility, to have a huge social bang for the buck from corporate social responsibility, I would suggest that you very closely look at IHV's social projects. IHV is one of the organizations that Gurudev has founded. Let me explain, let me illustrate. The year was 2019, and I was invited to give a keynote at a big youth event right here in DC. I did extensive research for it, and I was aghast when I came across one central statistic. In a nationwide survey, a whopping 70% of US teens, 13 to 17, cited as their topmost problem, guess what? Depression, stress, and anxiety. 70% of our kids cited this as their topmost problem, followed by 45% citing drugs and alcohol as their biggest problem, followed by 33% citing gangs. Just think of it. How have we come to a point where stress, depression, anxiety, drugs, alcohol, gangs have become the dominant reality in the lives of our children? This is a tsunami engulfing our kids. And what solutions do we have to offer for them? What solutions? And then I came across a very compelling antidote through IHV's Sky Schools program, which has taught meditation and breathing exercises to 350,000 students right here in the US. But above all, I think you should applaud when I say this, that not only have they taught these tools to 350,000 students, but with I'm a data person as well, documented evidence of 70% reduction in students' perceived stress levels and 90% reduction in violent infractions. I came across this fascinating case study of East Side High School in Newark, which had suffered precipitous decline due to gang violence. But over 8 years, thousands of students, teachers, and administrators did the Sky Schools program, which resulted in 700% increase in students on the honor roll and 90% reduction in disciplinary issues. And then I came across a most moving story of Centauria. A most moving story of Centauria. Right here in Baltimore, she was gang raped at the age of 16, which plunged her into acute anxiety. But after doing the Sky Schools program, she went on to conquer her anxiety. She won the Miss Teen Maryland Award title and started an initiative, an organization to help other youth. This is the impact of Sky Schools program. I want you to watch a 1-minute video just now, video clip, where you will hear from the beneficiaries themselves on their experience with these IHV programs. And as you watch it, I want you to reflect that IHV is trying to tackle seemingly intractable social problems, such as veterans suffering from PTSD or rehabilitating hardened criminals or tackling urban violence or combating substance abuse. So let's watch this video.
I lost a lot in my family, and I didn't know how to deal with my stress, so I would take it out on other people. But since the yoga classes started to help me, it's helping me really well. I feel happy. I used to hit people and do violent stuff, but now I just don't. I leave it behind.
I had fallen into a well, and you're looking up, and the light at the top is getting smaller and smaller and smaller as you slide further down the well. Finally, it felt like someone reached in the hole and grabbed me and helped me out of the hole, out into the light where life goes on.
It can stop a lot of the violence. A lot of people need to meditate their mind. A lot of people deal with anger and don't know how to let go of it. I feel at ease, I don't feel anger. I feel really free.
I really had such a hard time connecting before Sky, and then after that, I felt like I was able to make friends really easily, and then also I didn't really struggle with depression as much anymore. You know, I used to actually struggle with suicidal thoughts, and now I don't have those at all.
I've always looked for something spiritual in my life, and I just haven't been able to get there. Couldn't find anything. I used drugs for a long time, and that wasn't cutting it anymore. And meditation, the Sky meditation, made me feel a connection to a spirituality that I haven't had before in my life, and I feel very excited, calm, peaceful, and excited about the future.
because today we're going to announce award winners and we have another keynote speech coming. So let's take 10 minutes, have your discussions, and then we'll come back to you.
Pardon me.
I'll do it. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your cooperation. While you're eating, because we are trying to economize on time, we have an award ceremony. We have an award ceremony where we are honoring extremely wonderful leaders. So for this, I want to call on stage M.R. Rangaswamy. M.R., please come up. He's an investor, executive philanthropist. He will moderate the award ceremony. And I want to call on stage the two luminaries who will be giving the awards. Former Slovenian Prime Minister, Mr. Peterle. Sorry, I'm interrupting your lunch. Where are you? For those of you who were at the World Culture Festival yesterday, if you missed it, it was a brilliant harmonica performance from Mr. Peterle. Please give him a big round of applause. And then we have, here, this way. And then we have the president of the World Forum for Ethics in Business and a dear friend of mine, Rajita Kulkarni. Come on stage. Take it away, MR.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can leave this.
Thank you, everyone. Again, as you're having lunch, can we take a moment to pause and actually thank all the volunteers? Can we have an applause for all the volunteers? What a fantastic job they've done, but also the program has been outstanding this morning with Gurudev and the different panels. But now, like Sanjay said, we got to kind of get the 3 layers of the mousse cake, right? And these are the awards. We have 6 awards this afternoon. These are the Human Values Awards that are given on behalf of the Art of Living Foundation to recognize leaders who have demonstrated an exceptional commitment to promoting and embodying core human values while working towards the betterment of society. These individuals and organizations they represent have made a lasting impact through their commitment to service, innovation, excellence, and the mousse cake as well. Yeah. Absolutely. So if you don't mind just pausing for a minute from your conversations, you'll have plenty of time to do this afterwards. I first want to welcome to the stage Tamika Davenport. Tamika, are you here? Where's Tamika? Tamika is a parent. Where is she? Oh, Tamika, come on up. Tamika is a parent navigator at the Children's National Hospital in Washington, D.C. She's presented the Human Values Award for her outstanding commitment to helping children with complex medical needs to navigate the complex medical system in the United States. Congratulations, Tamika. Come on up, please. Give it up for Tamika. Tamika, sorry, Tamika. Thank you. Please come on up here, Tamika. Oh. Or you can use this. A few words from you, please.
Thank you so much, everyone. It's such an honor to be able to receive this. And I just want to say, I started in healthcare. I hear a reverb. I started in healthcare years ago. Maybe I should use this mic. Can you hear me better now? I started in healthcare. Oh. Do you want me to use this one? Okay. I started in healthcare years ago because there were doctors who had human values of compassion and empathy and thought that the patients that they were serving, whose parents were struggling and caring for children with special needs, could benefit from other parents whose children had special needs. And so I was offered the wonderful opportunity to come on board and be a peer leader in sharing with others. And so what I will say is, I have come to champion the idea of family as patient, and by extension, and by extension, community as patient. And so as we, as leaders, affect large swaths of people, may we always be reminded that as we positively affect the lives of even one individual, we're affecting a family. And as we affect a family, we're affecting a community. As we affect communities, we affect society. And as we affect societies, we affect the nation. And affecting the nation affects the globe. And it all begins with the power of one. Thank you so very much.
Pardon me. This is difficult to do, but if I can have your attention, please. Just in the interest of what we've been speaking about, human values, being heard, I think is important. So if you could just hold back on your conversations until we hear all the speakers and the awards, please. So thank you. Yeah?
Thank you so much. Again, the next award goes to Dr. Prem Reddy. Dr. Reddy, are you here? Please come on up. As he's coming up, just want to introduce him. He's the CEO and president of Prime Healthcare Services. Dr. Reddy founded it in 2001, grown it to become one of the top 10 largest healthcare systems in the United States. The award for his exceptional contributions to the field of healthcare and for serving hundreds of communities across the country through the philanthropic work of his foundations. Please give it up for Dr. Prem Reddy.
Thank you, former Prime Minister of Slovenia. And I'm deeply moved to stand before you today as the recipient of this incredible award. I'm especially humbled to be with influence change makers and world leaders who serve as beacons of hope for so many. And one greater, no one is greater than Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, who is uniting the whole world through love, peace, and tolerance. Namaskaram, Guruji. To say that this journey of mine had been a dream come true would be an understatement. From my humble beginnings in a rural village in India to becoming a cardiologist and then now acquiring financially distressed hospitals and turning them into community assets. And we have turned 45 of these hospitals in 14 states so far. From my humble beginnings in rural village in India, having come this far, every step on this path has been a testament to the values of perseverance, passion, and boundless opportunities that this great nation, the United States of America, offers for all those that dare to dream. Thank you for your recognition. Thank you.
Next up is Amy Rick. Amy Rick is board member, One Mind, the former president and CEO of Food and Drug Law Institute, and the CEO of Parkinson's Action Network. The Human Values Award is presented to her and One Mind's steadfast commitment in the field of mental and brain health and pioneering initiatives in workplace mental health.
Thank you very much. It is such an honor for me to serve on the board of One Mind for Mental Health and for me to accept this important acknowledgement from the Global Leadership Forum for One Mind's work. There are really three facets to One Mind's work. The first is compassion for what it means to face brain health challenges, and that happens to all of us at some point in our lives. The second is knowledge that all of us can build happy, healthy, and productive lives. And the third is a commitment to leading progress in mental health based on science and creative business acumen. One Mind has many outstanding programs, but the two I want to mention briefly, relevant to all of you in this room, are the Accelerator Program, which connects brilliant CEOs of early-stage startups who have a mission and are working on treatment and other aspects of improving lives of people with mental health challenges. And it mentors them and matches them up with successful leaders in this country to give them the tools and the mentorship they need to make sure their brilliant startup companies will succeed. The other program run by One Mind, very relevant to everyone in this room, is One Mind at Work, which brings together global businesses to tackle mental health in the workplace. Launched earlier this year, One Mind has a first-of-its-kind standardized assessment tool to measure and provide a roadmap for companies to assess their own mental health programs to see if they're actually working and having an impact for their employees. And here's the best part, you'll want to hear it, it's publicly available to companies. Check it out, look at the One Mind website, and it may be helpful to those of you in the room. Thank you.
Next up is Esther Wojcicki. She's an educational pioneer known for her innovative teaching methods. She's the founder of Palo Alto High School's Media Arts program, one of the nation's most distinguished scholastic media programs. She's also the winner of the 2009 MacArthur Foundation Genius Award, Genius Grant, as well as California Teacher of the Year. This award is given to her for exceptional dedication in the fields of education, media, and journalism, and empowering numerous individuals to thrive personally and professionally. Welcome, Esther. Congratulations.
Good afternoon, everyone. First, I would like to thank Guru Dev for this incredible honor to be here with the Art of Living Foundation. I'd just like to tell you a little bit about what I've been doing for the past 40 years. I've been teaching at Palo Alto High School, and I grew the program from 40 students in 1984 to over 800 students today. And the question is, why? Why did all these students want to be part of a journalism program at Palo Alto High School when most of the time you can't even get kids to learn to write? Well, it turns out that it was a program that I didn't even know the name of at that time. It was Human Values Centered Program, and I just learned that name now because that's what I was doing. I wrote a book called How to Raise Successful People, which is an international bestseller, and in that book, I talk about my motto, and the acronym is TRIC. And TRIC stands for Trust, Respect, Independence, Collaboration, and Kindness. And that's what made the program grow. That also helped me raise my 3 daughters who are become very well known. The oldest daughter is the former CEO of YouTube. My second daughter is professor of pediatrics at UCSF. And my third daughter is the founder of 23andMe, the personal genetics company. So I use TRIC in their upbringing, and I use trick in my teaching. And today I'd like to announce the collaboration between the Art of Living and what is going to be called WOJ Education, W-O-J Education, in all of India. My goal is to empower all students worldwide, a one vision, all students to take responsibility with love and kindness for the future of our planet. And thank you again to Guru Dev for this incredible honor.
Thank you.
Oh, by the way, I'm going to have cards with the name of the foundation and the new education that you're welcome to get. It's woj.education, very easy to find on the web.
Shh. Ladies and gentlemen, we have 2 more awards to go, so please let's listen in on the next 2 awards, and then you can continue on with lunch. Next up is Dr. James Leckman. He's the Nelson Harris Professor at the Child Study Center and Professor of Pediatrics at Yale University, Steering Committee member of the Early Peace Childhood Consortium. For more than 20 years, he served as a Director of Research for the Yale Child Study Center. Dr. Leckman is the author and co-author of over 450 original scientific articles published in peer-reviewed journals. He's presented the Human Values Award for his unwavering commitment in the field of child psychiatry and implementation of early childhood development programs to create sustainable peace at the individual, family, and community levels. Dr. Leckman. Please.
Well, it's certainly an honor and pleasure to be here, and I do apologize for interrupting your lunch, but I am very grateful, and it makes me think of all of my colleagues. I'm standing here as one person, but the reality is that I couldn't do any of this without my friends and my colleagues. I guess the one thing I wanted to mention was that we were just at the United Nations, and I'm not sure how many people here are either associated with the United Nations or UNICEF, but I would certainly hope that in the next iteration of this that there would be additional representatives. But we actually gave a presentation at the headquarters of the United Nations and then at UNICEF. And frankly, the high point of both of those presentations was actually hearing a children's choir from New Haven. And they sang this wonderful song, Seeds of Peace. And it was so exciting to see them doing that, and I'm so grateful to my colleague, Kyle Pruitt, for helping to organize that event. And believe it or not, they just couldn't stop, and they actually interrupted their trip back to New Haven and actually started singing in the restaurant that they had stopped at for their pizza lunch. So I don't want to interrupt your lunch any longer, but thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And let's keep doing our work for the children of the world. And there's so much more that needs to be done. When you think about the realities that are facing so many children in the world, we can't stop. We have to keep working. We have to make a difference. And let's do it together. Let's do all of it together.
All right, everyone. Last but not least is Angie Gates. Angie is the president and CEO of Events DC, Washington's official convention and sports authority. Ms. Gates is a revered public servant in the field of arts, culture, and entertainment. She recently received the President's Lifetime Achievement Award from President Biden. It was under her leadership as general manager of the iconic Warner Theater that Washington, D.C. earned its first Emmy Award. The Human Values Award is for her and Events DC's unwavering commitment to enhancing the cultural and economic vitality of the thriving communities of Washington, D.C. Please welcome Angie Gates.
Congratulations.
Good afternoon, everyone. Now, there's more people in here than that. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, global leaders. I am delighted to be here with you this afternoon. And let me be clear, I'm from the South, so I like to eat. So trust and believe, my remarks, they ain't gonna be that long. But it's very important that I take a moment to thank the distinguished Guru Dev, the Art of Living Foundation, and the panelists today, and all the members and committees and everyone in this room for what you do. As they mentioned, I'm Angie Gates. I'm the president and CEO of Events DC, the official convention and sports authority of the District of Columbia. So we believe in having fun, but we believe in sponsoring events with a purpose. So today is a great day in Washington, D.C. Over 400,000 people are connected to the World Culture Festival, locally and globally. And this event alone is bringing a 30 million impact, which ultimately means it's creating jobs. We're investing in businesses. It's not just coming together, but it's coming together for a purpose. So I'm very thankful for this Human Values Award. And I do need you to lower your voice just a little bit. Thank you. Like my teacher used to say, if I can hear you, that means you can't hear me. Right? Okay, we got to get the hand claps for that. But what I want to say next is important, and it is very authentic. My great-grandmother, my grandmother, my father who is no longer with me, my mother, who is 81 years young, who I wake up every morning with and pray with every day, who is my best friend, instilled human values in me. Before, as a little girl growing up, I understood what compassion meant. I understood integrity. I understood kindness. But more importantly, I understood what it meant to be empathetic. So I'm not just getting this award for me, but you best believe I'm grateful and I'm thankful. But I'm getting it for the people who raised me up as a little girl to walk in my purpose. And I am walking and walking well in my purpose today. So thank you. And it is so important that we all continue to wake up every day and continue to burn the flame of human values, not just in our hearts, but in our actions. I promise you this, I will wake up every day and stand on the foundation of faith over fear. I will wake up, thank you, I will wake up every day to strive to be a better person. But more importantly, I will wake up every day and try to identify something to make the difference in another person's life. Once again, thank you, and I will cherish this for the rest of my life. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the awards. One last round of applause for all the 6 recipients.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Prime Minister Peterle, Rajita, MR. Okay. Yes, that feels nice. So, hello everybody. Can I have your attention? You know what we are doing? We are trying to condense what is normally a 3-day, 2-day event into a one morning. So I just need